Now we should be live on our horizontal stream. We're going to be live here in a second on the vertical stream, and we should be live here on Twitch in a second. And we're going to be live momentarily here on TikTok. In fact, I need to change the name of the TikTok stream though. Let's see. They don't have enough room for this particular topic today, so I'm just going to write Christianity is a failure. Should have wrote Jesus is a failure, but what are you going to do? All right, so we should be live on all the platforms. The only thing left to do is I'm going to open up the stream on my phone, and then I'll have you log in to the TikTok stream on your phone, and then people will see that we're live together on TikTok, and we'll essentially be merged. It'll be a good time.
Cool. Yep, I see here.
Although we don't, I don't know. Oh, there you are. Perfect. Should be loaded in a second.
So let me turn off my video.
All right, we should be good to go then on all the platforms. Friends, welcome in. We are doing a topic that I think this will be our second time running the topic. I got my friend Calvin with me today. Some of you are like, "Hey, great to see Calvin here," because a lot of you already know unquestionable Calvin. However, there are probably some people I'm sure that because our community is still learning everybody is might have a new face on the screen. So I've actually known Calvin since like the day I got on TikTok, like 3 years. The deconstruction community on TikTok was a little bit smaller back then, and Calvin was already there before me. And so I've actually been familiar with the work for a long time. So I'm really excited to get to share a screen with him today. But Calvin, tell everybody a little bit about where the best places to find your content are, what type of content you do, and what are maybe some of your favorite topics to explore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Justin, for having me on. It's a pleasure to actually get to do something with you. I know we've been talking for, like you said, years basically, and I'm always a fan of your stuff. I listen to the stream all the time, and it's a pleasure to be here. So thanks, for collaborating with me. But yeah, guys, I'm unquestionable Calvin. I talk to people about what they believe, why they believe it. I do online debates similar to what Justin does here, and yeah, mostly focused around atheism and deconstructing Christianity, deconstructing conspiracy theories. I more so come from kind of like a spiritual conspiratorial background with a little sprinkle of Jesus in there. um not super hardcore Christian growing up, but it was a lot of, I call it finger waving, like, hey, watch out, Jesus is watching. And yeah, not really a whole lot of, still going to church once in a while to my parents divorced, and my mom being a single mom just couldn't bring us to church as often as she wanted to. So it just kind of got put on the back burner, and I fell more into conspiracy theories. And so I tend to talk about conspiratorial beliefs, spirituality. Nowadays, it's more so deconstructing Christianity and the Bible. And yeah, I'm a musician. I play music and stuff. I've got a couple songs out there you can listen to. They're not great, but you can listen to them. And I'm live like once a week on all streaming platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. It's unquestionable Calvin everywhere. You can find me everywhere doing this stuff. You can't shut me up.
Now, on the conspiracy theories, I found in the past there's like a large crossover between religious people and people who get into conspiracy theories. What were some of your favorite, and are there some conspiracy theories that you think might actually have been proven true?
Yeah, I think that there's plenty of conspiracy theory. More so, like, I guess you could say, like, government conspiracy theories that it's that have kind of, I guess, been proven true to an extent. But yeah, I mean, my favorite conspiracy growing up was always like the Bigfoot stuff, right? I always was a sucker for a good Bigfoot story. But up until like the end of my like kind of tinfoil hat era, it was more ancient lost high technology. So, like vibrational technology used to build the pyramids, and Atlantis, and ancient civilizations, and that kind of stuff. And it was kind of because of Christianity that it led me to start deconstructing those conspiratorial beliefs. Because I obviously was like straight up conspiracy theorists, like the government's run by reptilian aliens who are abducting people. Hurricane Katrina was a false flag
Yeah,
operation
yeah.
by the reptilian aliens to abduct the homeless population, send them to the Draco constellation. That's the type of stuff I was into, and as I started to kind of look into some like flood myths, like I said, like ancient lost high technology in Atlantis, like flood myths are all around those. It was like right when I started learning that like all these different civilizations had flood myths, and then I was like kind of Christian at the time. Um, I figured like what better way to get a hold of what's going on than to just like pick up the book that I apparently believe in that I've never read, and so I picked up a Bible and I read it from cover to cover. And needless to say, I wasn't impressed. I was a little disappointed by what I read. I wasn't comfortable calling myself an atheist by the end of the first read through. I just didn't like the God. But by the second read through, I picked it up a second time and was studying and annotating everything along the way. And by the New Testament, I was calling myself an atheist.
I get it. Yeah. And your Bible is pretty well known as is mine for having many color-coded tabs.
I got a thing off camera here. Yeah, it's the talk of the town. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a bunch of color tabs. And every tab color has a corroboration to it. I have like an index as to like what they mean and everything. And never really planned on sharing this with anybody. I just kind of did it for my own sake, and it just kind of fell into TikTok eventually after content, my music content started getting bombarded with Christianity. So I had to do something about that. Let me shut my dog
Gotcha.
up real quick.
Yeah, yeah, no worries, no worries. While Calvin's doing that, let me grab we'll do a couple super chats. I think we have a guest already ready to go. I think Stan is ready to rock and roll.
Cool.
So we'll grab Stan. If you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, you can use the link on the screen to join the conversation. It's tiny.cc/DZ live. If you're watching on TikTok, you would request using the TikTok request button, just like you would any particular way. We'll bring you in as a guest. We are kind of specifically targeting Christianity tonight. But I would imagine if you have something Christian adjacent, we're more than happy to discuss it. But the topic is that Christianity is a failed apocalyptic blood magic death cult, and this is kind of wordy, but basically the general idea here is that Christianity, first of all, doesn't rise to the occasion in that it makes claims that don't come true, meaning the idea of Christianity just failed. And then obviously we can argue about whether or not it's apocalyptic. It clearly is an end of the world apocalyptic religion that includes blood magic and was also a death cult. It seems all pretty obvious claims. We kind of got a 4-point claim. But let me get a couple super chats. We'll get Stan in here and then Nikki after Stan. The Knights Who Say Knee, good to see you tonight, says Justin, doing the Ian fashionably late thing. Gay 4, Justin. You held the shift key one too many letters, but I got you, buddy. Knights Who Say Knee, I don't know if I'm fashionably late. I was like within the minute mark. I know you guys are used to me starting right on the dot, but
You
I
could
was
probably
maybe.
blame me. You could just blame me. We got caught up in conversation.
But we're here. We are here, friends. And Daniel Thomas Tanner, thank you for the super chat. Says I have a job interview call tomorrow morning after 2 months of unemployment. Well, hopefully things go well for you, friend. Please pray to Doug. I get the job since I know he answers prayer. I know this. Doug will answer way more prayers than Jesus. So if you feel like praying to Doug helps, I definitely concur. Pray to Doug. And the Knights also say, call, I think you mean Cal for Calvin. Are you aware of Australia isn't the real place?
Yeah, no, Australia isn't real. Birds aren't real. Yeah.
Indeed, birds are absolutely not real. And Cruzen says, may the 4th of Doug be with you. Always rock hard, fellow Doug. Thank you, Cruzen68. And it is Cinco de Mayo, if I remember correctly. I should have done something for the occasion, and I didn't. That's on me. Peter, my friend, thank you for the $5 Canadian super chat. Says I think Judas made a bigger sacrifice than Jesus. Without him, Jesus wouldn't have died on the cross, etc., and he went to hell for good, right? So this is actually like if you read the Gospel of Judas and some of the other like apocalyptical literature that mentions Judas, this does kind of come up. This idea that like, hey, wait a minute, like Judas, first of all, he had to. Jesus had to get betrayed to fulfill the scriptures. So somebody has to do it. why not Judas? And so it's certainly, I agree with you. He was doing his job. And remember in John 13:18, Jesus says, I know the one whom I've selected, meaning Jesus selected him for the job. Now, he might have been like, well, he was selected and predestined ahead of time because God knew how wicked he was, yada, yada, yada. That's all there. But uh, nevertheless, Judas, without Judas, there's no resurrection story. So, big W to Judas. And Lynn, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Says, I will pay my tithe to Doug early because I have to go fix my house siding. Oh, shit. Sorry to hear that. I lost some in a windstorm a few weeks ago. Catch up with you all later. Straight for Justin. And Justin's fucking rock. Well, thank you, Lynn. I hope you get your siding all fixed up. I do love like the vinyl siding. Like my old house is wood siding, and I have to admit I much prefer working on vinyl siding than wood siding. A piece falls down, you just put it back up. It's not that big of a deal. Shit, if it's cracked, you could even put it back together sometimes. But nevertheless, what are you gonna do? First world problems. Let's get Stan in here from our YouTube queue, and then we'll get Nikki from our TikTok queue. Welcome in, Stan. Are you at least 18?
Hello, can I be heard?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh yeah, yes, I'm an adult. I'm over 18 and I'm Christian.
Fantastic. And do you agree or disagree with the claim on the board today?
No, I think you could guess by my religious views. I do disagree.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
well, I mean, there's like I guess it's technically four separate points, but I
Right.
mean, first off, the I don't want to gish gallop, but I'm just saying the failure part seems odd to me, considering it is the world's largest religion, and it's and even if you don't believe it's true, it did inspire countless acts in history or countless works of art and things of that nature. So I mean, I would say objectively, it's probably the world's most successful religion.
Well,
And I mean, as for it,
I don't think the popularity of something is what how I'm rating success. I'm rating success based on the actual goal of the religion. Like the actual goal of the religion was for Jesus to be the Messiah, for him to defeat Israel's enemies, for him to come back within a generation and set up the kingdom and all that stuff. All the stuff he predicted, and then that didn't come true. Like it might be true that it's popular. I mean, obviously it is, but that's not how I'm measuring success or failure here.
right. Well, the thing is, that's kind of only one conception of the Messiah. Like that's sort of like a debatable point. I
Sure.
mean, even many of the Jews, believe Jesus was the Messiah, like because they did believe in the resurrection. I mean, that's kind of a whole other debate. I mean, as for the death cult thing, I mean, no disrespect, but it just seems like kind of a polemical point. I mean, Christianity, it's about like one of its main features is about human life being inherently valuable. It's not a matter of mere opinion.
That's not a teaching in
And like
Christianity.
Christ's resurrection was about defeating death.
So there's nothing in Christianity that all human beings are like just inherently valuable. Like even the God of the Old Testament just flatly disagrees on that. So like the New Testament can't disagree with the God of the Old Testament, right?
Well, that's true. There can't be a contradiction, but I mean, I don't think there is a contradiction. I mean,
Oh,
because I mean, well, I mean, for starters, I mean, murder is a sin, so I mean, we can get that out of the way. But I mean, as well, I mean, I should mention I am Catholic, so I'm not just sola scriptura. So we do
It's a
believe in
sin
the
unless
idea
God
of
gets to do it, right?
pardon.
Murder is a sin unless God gets to do it, right?
Well, I mean, the idea is that God does have authority over human life. We don't.
So what?
So I mean, yeah.
No, like who cares if he has authority? Do you think that just because someone has authority over something that it gives them the justification to unalive them?
Well, no, not for like a fallible human. Like if you're trying to make a comparison between like a president nuking his citizens, like that doesn't really work because like a human president would be a fallible rather human being.
So you have to special plead.
Well, it's not special pleading if there's an actual difference, is it?
well,
It's still special pleading.
so I think
Not really.
to Calvin's point, I think we're trying to say like if all humans are inherently valuable, like, it really shouldn't matter who's killing them.
Well, no, but the idea is that, as I said, God does have authority over human life. We don't. So I mean, eventually humans do die, whether old age or prematurely. And the idea of human life being valuable is, simply I can't mistreat my brother or my sister just because I feel like it. And I mean,
Right, but keep in mind,
here's the thing, if
keep in mind,
atheism,
we're
sorry, I
not
don't want to.
actually sorry, we're not actually arguing about authority, right? What Calvin and I are trying to point out here is either human life is inherently valuable or it's not. If God is
Right.
just killing them willy nilly, whether he has the authority to or not, that would demonstrate that they're not inherently valuable.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's not willy nilly because, I mean, God by definition is all knowing. So anything he does, I mean, I hate to do the appeal to mystery thing, but I mean, in this case, it's just objectively true that if you do have a
Well,
being that's omniscient, that knows everything you and I couldn't know, then you can't say for sure that what he does is willy nilly.
well, how do you know that what he does is good even? Right? If you're saying like that God is somehow like objectively higher and more intelligent than we are, like how did you determine that the God is even good? Like why should we just grant that? Maybe he's an
Well,
asshole.
sure. I mean, for starters, I mean, if we are talking about if we're trying to make some type of internal critique of Christianity, you do sort of have to accept all the tenets of it. Not believe it, but you have to like
No.
see the tenets of it. One of which is God is all good. I mean, and secondly, I mean, to me, it's almost sort of like a common
I
sense
didn't
thing. If
I didn't
wait,
give you
wait,
an
wait, wait.
argument that's based on internal critique. I just gave you a question, which was
Well, no,
how
but
do you determine that God is good?
well, I mean, if God is a creator of like literally everything, then I don't see how it's possible that there could be a moral standard outside of him.
Well, I don't
And
think
I
there's
mean,
a
as
moral
well, I mean,
standard. I don't think there's a moral standard at all. Like if, for example,
well, if there's
right now
no
we're again, and try to pay attention, Stan. We're not talking about a moral standard. We're asking about just the word good. How do you determine that God is good? Like if God disappeared tomorrow, let's imagine God disappeared tomorrow and there was nothing but Satan, and Satan got to make the
Mhm.
rules. You wouldn't say that Satan was good just because he has all the authority. So, like, how do you
Well,
determine that God was good?
well, number one, Satan isn't omniscient, so that wouldn't really work that
Well, pretend
comparison.
he
Number
is.
two, if you say, wait, Justin, if you say there's no moral standard, then how could you even say Christianity's a immoral religion? It just
I
seems to be
didn't.
your opinion. Then. But do you think Christianity is an immoral religion?
Well, I think that the teachings in the Bible are immoral, but the thing that you're going to misconstrue is when I say moral, I'm not comparing it to some sort of objective standard because there is no objective standard. I'm
All
saying
right, so then it's your
that
opinion. So, I
use it,
mean,
well, everything is your opinion. That's all you have, right? So what I'm saying is that based on the standards that we would rate immoral behavior on, the God of the Bible checks off all the stuff for being immoral. Shouldn't kill babies? Boom, he does it. Shouldn't punish innocent people? Boom, he does it. Shouldn't do horrific punishments for finite, minor crimes? God does it. So all I'm saying is like I'm just not special pleading for God.
well, maybe you're not special pleading, but I mean, you're kind of arguing on a contradiction though, because I mean, again, it's sort of trying to have it both ways. Though on one hand, you're saying there's no real moral standard, but on the other hand, you're saying, well,
Can you
God
can you
disobeys
demonstrate
this,
that there is
disobeys that.
one?
Well, I would argue. I mean, I guess I would try to argue it a couple ways, but I mean, first, I mean, I'm just trying to debunk your argument though. Is I'm just saying that if you want to say it's all opinion based, then I can. If we're saying it's all opinion based, you say Christianity's immoral. I say it's moral. Aren't we just at an impasse if there's no outside standard?
Yeah, and that's why like when we go to these type of discussions, I don't just declare that Christianity is immoral. I think that's stupid. What I usually get from you or for whoever my interlocutor is, I get them to articulate what they think would be unthinkable moral behavior. And then I show them where God does it. So all I'm doing is showing them the contradiction in their own worldview. I'm not declaring that somehow my standard has to be accepted over their standard. I'm just saying that they failed their own standard.
Well, no, but I mean, again, that's kind of an internal critique, isn't it? You're saying, well, if Christianity teaches X, and then if Christianity teaches X is bad, and God does X, that means God's immoral, so Christianity falls apart. Would you say
Well, it
that's
just
kind of
means
what you're getting at?
means there's a contradiction in your worldview. You're saying that it's okay, as Calvin already said, you can special plead for God. Like it's always wrong to rape women. Well, except when God does it. When God does it, well, that's just called special pleading, and typically that's a fallacy. Like, do you think there's ever an occasion where sexually assaulting a woman is appropriate?
Oh no, but I mean, on your
Wait,
worldview,
I
where there's
said
a more
any
objective, more
occasion.
standard than
I said any
sorry,
occasion.
any occasion? No, there's not.
So if God causes it, it's not good when God causes it?
No, God doesn't cause it. I mean, again,
He's a oh
Are you
on
familiar with
no.
your
Second Samuel?
worldview, there's nothing
He's
wrong with the
not.
inheritance.
He's definitely not familiar with it.
I'm sure he's not. Are you familiar with Second Samuel, Stan? That's my
Somewhat.
favorite one to go for.
Yeah,
But I
it's
mean, look,
rough.
again,
Well,
you
I
guys are
mean,
contradicting yourselves. You're saying,
we
oh,
actually
there's
haven't
no moral
contradicted
standard. But
ourselves. We already told you that we're not using objective standards. We're
look, you're
using your
trying to sneak
standard
in an
against
objective. You're
you.
trying to
So
sneak in
in
an
your
objective moral
standard,
standard by criticizing
you
God.
don't think that there's ever an occasion where sexually assaulting a woman is a good thing, and it just happens to be that we agree with you. So the reason why we're asking for your standard is not because we think it's objective, just because we want to show you the contradiction in your own worldview. Because in 2 Samuel, as Calvin alluded, God says, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in broad daylight, so on and so forth. So God causes the wives of David to be sexually assaulted for David's sin. And you just said there's no occasion where that should be acceptable.
Well, I mean, again, your worldview says there's nothing inherently wrong with the soul.
So
But that's the
this is what we
Bible.
call whataboutism.
It's not whataboutism. It's a fundamental problem with your worldview.
It's not a problem in my worldview. And it's like, well, and in fact, Calvin and I share the same worldview. Let's see, Calvin, is there ever an occasion where it's acceptable to sexually assault a woman?
No.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. So we're going to say, yeah, by the same standard that we just agreed to, we would say that this is wrong, right? You agreed to the same standard, but now you're saying this is actually right when God does it. See, you've got the contradiction, not us.
No, but I mean, in terms of that verse, sometimes like God can permit something, or something could just happen as a punishment. That's not actually God doing
He
it.
says,
I
I'm
mean, and look,
causing it.
again, it doesn't make
Wait,
any sense
did God
to
cause it?
use these kind of criticisms against Christianity when
Did
you don't
God
have a
cause
moral
it?
standard.
Did God cause it?
Did God cause it?
Remember, this is a punishment, and God says, I'm taking your wives, I'm raising up the trouble against you. So did he do those things or not? They hate God's word, Calvin. They hate reading this book.
I know.
No, we really don't. But I mean, again, your worldview is incoherent anyway.
Again, I'm just asking you, did God cause these things to happen?
If some unfortunate thing
He'll
does
never
happen,
say
that's not God
yes or
Never
no.
just say yes or no.
Did God say he's causing it?
I mean, on your worldview,
He
rape is
knows
just
the answer. He does. Let
on
me
your
pivot and
worldview,
not
rape is just
answer.
a
Oh
human
no, I'll
thing then.
never answer. I'll never say yes or no. We'll
Well,
try
I
it
don't know.
with
You
we'll
can't
try it
seem
with
to understand a
Calvin.
basic philosophical
Maybe
problem at all.
Calvin will be able to answer the question. Calvin, in verse 11, when God says, I will raise up trouble against you and I will take your wives, is God taking credit? Is he causing it?
Yeah. He actually is saying, I will raise up trouble against you. And I mean, you, Justin, are way more versed in the Hebrew than I am. But I mean, is that not part of the causative stem too?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so in verse 11, what we find is kum is a Hebrew word, and it's identified in the causative verbal stem, the hafil verbal stem, which means that the subject is causing the action to happen. I'm causing the trouble to be raised up. So did God cause it or not? Or is God a liar?
No, God's not a liar.
But did he cause it?
Let me just. I mean, look. I mean, again, as let me just. May I see the verse? Oh, 1 second. So.
Yeah.
Stan, have you ever read this before? Have you ever opened up the Bible and read this for yourself?
I've read all the New Testament and some of the Old Testament, not all of the Old Testament.
Why did you skip over 77% of the Bible to go to the New Testament?
I mean, to be honest, I started reading the New Testament, as a kid. I haven't gone around to the Old Testament. I suppose it's my fault for
You
being
should.
sloppy. But look, I mean, to the subject of the death cult, I mean, again, like I keep trying to say.
Yeah, I would not
Christianity has
address
an
verse
inherent-
11 either. I would try to run away as far as fast. We're still just waiting for an answer. Like, I'd love to move on to the death cult and the other stuff, but like you've seen now that there's a contradiction. I'm just waiting for you to either fix the contradiction or affirm it. It's got to be one of the two.
It's just a yes or no.
No, I mean I don't agree with it. Sorry, it's not God endorsing that.
Okay, so then
So you
God
don't agree with
lied.
that?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
No, he didn't. He didn't lie. But again, like an unfortunate thing happening as a punishment, it doesn't mean like that
Yeah,
thing
but
is good.
God, the words from God, right? The words that left God's mouth. Remember, Jesus said that you have to live on every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Those words are, I will raise up trouble against you. So did he do that or not?
He did, but
Oh, so
again, it was a
now he
divine
did it.
punishment.
Okay, there we go.
It
We
was a
got
divine
it.
punishment on David. It
Took
was
a
a divine punishment
while.
on David.
Yeah, there we go. Here comes the goalpost shift. Okay. So God did cause it to
Well, it
happen.
was. Well, I mean, again, on my worldview, God can do. I mean, God has
He's gonna
inherent
pivot to the
authority.
precept moral argument over and over
It's not,
again.
but
So no one
it's not.
asked
It's a
you again.
legitimate. It's
Nobody
a
asked
legitimate
you
argument
about
that you're
authority,
dodging.
Stan. Nobody asked you about authority, right? The question we initially had
Well,
with you
that's an inherent
was,
part of it.
is it always wrong to sexually assault women? And now we found a case where you think it's good to sexually assault women. It's good when God does it. You should have started with that. See, you should have said, actually, sometimes it is good when God sexually assaults women.
Is the verse necessary about SA? Is it not maybe just about polygamy?
No, it's about SA because
Yeah.
this comes true a couple chapters later in chapter 16 when Absalom, somebody within David's own household, runs a coup against David, chases him out of the palace, and then sexually assaults 10 of his wives on top of the palace in broad daylight, exactly as predicted.
Well, I mean, that's human free will. That's
That God
Absalom.
caused. Why, if that's just human free will, why did God say I'm causing it?
It's not like it's anything uncommon for God to violate free will anyways.
Happens all the time.
Well, I mean, God can know what happens, and we have free will. So
So I
someone
wouldn't address what
essaying,
Calvin said either. Can God violate free will or not?
can he? I mean, hypothetically, he could.
Does he?
As far as I know, I don't believe so.
Oh, then you haven't read this book at all. Have you read what he does to Saul in 1 Samuel chapter 10?
I mean, look again. You guys are getting
So
away from the issue. Like,
you haven't read 1
you don't have
Samuel
a
10
foundation
either
for
then. So
morality.
1 Samuel 10. I'll show you exactly
All right.
what he does. And in fact, there's a lot of times where he violates people's free will, both with and without perceived consent.
I mean,
But
that's fine by your view. You don't believe
in
in objective
1
morality.
Samuel, it says, when the Spirit of the Lord, then the Spirit of the Lord will possess you, and you will be in a prophetic frenzy along with them, and will be turned into a different person. And then we see that finished in verse 9 when it says, as he turned away to leave Samuel, God gave him another heart, and all these signs were fulfilled that day, which shows that God will both harden people's heart. As you know, he hardened the hearts of Pharaoh, he hardened the hearts of the Canaanites to come out to war. He even gave a different heart to Saul to make him into a better person. He can motivate anybody's heart any way he wants to, according to the narrative. So why are we saying that it would be wrong for him to harden Absalom's heart against his father and his wives?
I mean, a lot of the times, like these hard and hard verses, they can kind of be up to interpretation. But
I
I
don't
do
think they
want to just
can.
get back to the main point of the death cult thing. I mean, again,
Yeah. All
Christianity,
right, go ahead and
again,
pivot.
Christianity inherently teaches that human life has value, and you can see it in history where they did
Show me the
things like
verse where
prevent
that
the Romans
is.
from committing. Well, I was going to say they did in history. Christians did things like preventing Romans from infanticiding, like committing infanticide.
Show
Leaving
me.
babies
Show me where
exposed,
that
things like that.
happened.
Like in history.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. I mean, do I post a link or something?
You just tell me where you found it. I'll put it up on the internet. Because what we find in the New Testament is Jesus and Paul saying that the world's about to end imminently. Same thing with Second Peter. Same thing with other books in the New Testament, where they're literally telling people don't even have children. Be a eunuch for the sake of the gospel, because the world's about to end. That's why it's the death cult.
Would Wikipedia be an acceptable source?
Kind of. It's a source that will give me actual sources.
All right. Well, just reading out the sentence aloud. Infanticide became forbidden in the Near East during the first millennium. Christianity forbade infanticide from earliest times, which led Constantine the Great and Valentinian First to ban infanticide across the fourth century, across the Roman Empire in the fourth century.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
mean,
I
that's
mean,
like a Wikipedia article on
oh,
infanticide. And
you mean after Christians took over?
well, I
Oh,
mean,
fine, fine, fine. I'm sorry. I thought you meant like while the Romans were still in charge. Like, what the fuck are you
well,
talking
wait, wait,
about?
wait, wait, wait,
Yeah,
wait. But I mean,
obviously,
you can't
yeah,
enact a law.
obviously, after the Christian church took over the Roman Empire, they had different laws. Yeah, we're aware of that.
Well, wait, wait, wait. That doesn't debunk anything I said because I mean, if you want to, well, I mean, first of all, to change society, you actually have to be in charge. And secondly, I
Mm,
mean,
we
like,
didn't say
what does
anything
it
about
matter if you're in
changing
charge?
society. You didn't say any of that. Now, maybe you thought that that was implied with what you said, but it seemed to not be. But I think that the point is very clear that Christianity did not teach at the earliest phase, like blanketly, the equality of all human life. That's why they still allowed slavery. In fact, Ambrose, Ignatius, and other like influential Catholic thinkers and writers, and even some of the popes, explicitly said that slavery was acceptable and even necessary. So you can't give me this nonsense like, oh, well, all life is equal in Christianity, because it wasn't.
Well, they would have regarded. Well, that's kind of where I'm coming from with the inherently thing is that they would have regarded a slave as having an equal chance to heaven as his master. I mean, and the Christian thought it's hypothetically possible a slave goes to heaven, the master goes to hell.
We're not talking about heaven and
I mean,
hell.
well, I
Why
mean,
why
if
do you
I
think we
mean
care
again, if we're
about
talking.
heaven and hell? We're talking about like actual treatment and value of the human being here while they're alive.
Well, I would say heaven and hell do matter under the Christian system.
Right, under your mindset, it matters, but, like, we don't think that that place exists, so we don't
Well,
wanna bank on holding people
sure. I mean, tell
accountable
you
there.
what, I'll do you one better. I mean,
So
Christianity. I mean, again,
it's
if you
okay to
look at
own
certain
slaves
things like
because they go to
Christians,
heaven? Like, is that what you're trying to say?
well, well, I mean, I, in a sense, yes. I mean, again, under eight, I would.
Ooh,
Wait, wait. Can you? I'm sorry. Can you actually repeat the question? I'm
I
sorry. I
can't
kind
believe
of.
you said that out loud.
Well,
I
I
I
didn't actually
asked,
hear.
is it okay
Sorry.
to own slaves if the slaves go to heaven?
No, no, sorry. I'm really sorry. I said yes because I thought I heard something else. I swear, sorry.
Right.
My bad. But I mean, here's the thing: is even like in the material world, I would argue Christianity has been a net good for things like establishing a university system or helping to establish it, being like creating many hospitals.
To what?
Christians donate more to charity than others. Christians adopt kids more than others. So I
So
mean, there's an
so
encouragement in
so what? This
Christianity.
has nothing to do with Christianity. But
Sure,
to
it
be
does. It's
clear,
a practice.
Christianity teaches you not to get married or have children. Like if you actually
Well,
read your
that
book,
was Paul. No, that
Paul
was
and
Paul saying.
Jesus and Jesus both.
Well, Paul recommended it. Well,
But Paul and
well,
Jesus
somewhat
both.
recommended it if it was.
Paul and Jesus both did. Matthew 19, Jesus says that his preference is for people to be eunuchs for the sake of the gospel.
So Jesus said it first, and then Paul reaffirmed it later.
Well, that's kind of. I mean, Jesus he speaks, in like a lot of like parables and metaphors, kind of saying like. No,
It's
but it's
not a
saying like.
parable.
Well, no, no, but it's like not
What
like
do you
I
think a
mean like
parable is?
metaphorically kind of speaking like it's better to, as you say, like live kind of a
Uh,
hardship like a eunuch than get
the
married.
amount of
I
lies you
mean,
got to tell yourself to be in this religion is wild.
no, it's no
What's
lie. I mean, look,
what's
it's
the what's the metaphor? What's the metaphor mean? Do you know
well,
that metaphors have to have meanings, right?
yeah, but it's basically. I mean, it's he does say it's not supposed to be for everyone. I mean, and it's a common sense thing too. If everyone became celibate, the world ends.
He
Like
said, "Let
next year.
anyone accept it who can,"
Yeah, who can? I mean, but that's the thing. Who can? A lot of people
which
they don't
means
have the
which
they
means
don't
he
have the
has a
self control to be celibate.
which means he has a preference, right? You know what a preference is, right?
I know what a preference is.
Okay, so if he's saying anyone who can accept it should accept it, he's saying that my
Sure,
preference is for people to accept this. He's
but
not
that doesn't
forcing it on
necessarily
people.
mean.
He's just saying that it's preferable for it to be this way.
But sure, but I mean, you can say something's preferable, but then recognize the majority can't do it.
Oh, he didn't say
Like
the
I could say
majority.
it's like I could say it's preferable that people totally avoid junk food, but I mean I can recognize that only a small percentage of people can avoid junk food.
Actually, I think all people can avoid junk food if they wanted to.
Well, it can be
That's not a good
difficult. I mean,
example.
especially. No, I think it is. I mean, you could say unhealthy food. I mean, I
Is
guess it depends
there
on your
is there a
definition.
reason why a young man or a young woman wouldn't be able to accept this?
I mean, look again. It's like food's a temptation. That's what I mean. I
So
mean, even bodybuilders. No,
so
but Justin,
Jesus is like, hey, I would
even
prefer you to
bodybuilders have
do
things like
this
cheat days.
unless you just were too tempted. Jesus wants you to give in to temptation.
No, no, no. I mean, a preference doesn't necessarily mean that the other thing is bad, but
I
it's
didn't say
just when he
that.
says those who can, because he recognizes humans
Uh
are
huh.
sinful, so most humans can't avoid. I mean, most humans can't follow celibacy.
Well, why not?
Well, we have sexual temptations.
So what?
So yeah.
Do you not have other temptations? What's Jesus tell you? He said, flee from temptation.
Well, that's true. I mean, but the argument is no. Okay, look, it's very simple. It's just that he can prefer someone be celibate, but he can also recognize that most people can't be celibate. And
He never
again, it's a
said that
common.
though. That's something you have to add into that, right? He never says
Well, it's
that
a common
most
sense thing. I
people.
mean, if
He never said
again, if everyone's
it's not
celibate, the
common
world
sense
ends.
thing. He says that he would prefer for you to be a eunuch for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Let anyone who accept it who can. He didn't say, "Hey, I don't know, some people will accept it, but most people won't." He didn't say that. He said, "Listen, anyone who can accept it, let him accept it." Why would he say that? Why would he suggest such a crazy thing?
I mean, it's not quite crazy. It's just
To
uh,
You just said it's people can't, like, the vast majority of humans can't accept it, but it's not crazy.
oh sure, because I
Why would
mean,
he
again, I don't think it's
suggest it?
no,
Why
but
would he
I
tell
don't think it's
people
a
he would prefer them to be a eunuch for the sake of the gospel?
because again, you can say you can prefer some type of lifestyle, even if you recognize that lifestyle is
Yeah,
far from
yeah, yeah.
sin.
I'm asking you about the reason for the preference. Why does Jesus have a preference for this?
I mean, you could say from the verse it just be that he knows that probably a celibate person could be more devoted, probably would be more devoted.
Sure. And what purpose does that serve?
The purpose is being more devoted, sir.
To what?
I mean, to follow Jesus Christ, follow the
And
religion.
for what? To what ends?
You're almost there.
To what ends? I mean, as far as Christianity goes, it's about accepting Jesus Christ and being accepted into heaven.
Dude, you're at the edge. Why is it so important during Jesus's ministry?
You're gonna say it's because the world's about to end?
Because the world's about to end, which is what he's been teaching his entire ministry. He says that it's going to happen within that generation. He says, some of you still standing here with me will still be alive when you see me coming on the clouds.
Right. Well, so you see the Son of Man coming in His kingdom. Uh, that could. I mean, some people do interpret that as being for the resurrection or the transfiguration.
He came on the clouds when he resurrected. That's backwards. He came, like, he came to the clouds, not
He
from the
rode the
clouds.
clouds. He Goku'd that shit.
He went. He left. He says he's coming. That's different. When you're coming from the clouds, you're going from here to there.
Right. But I mean, again, it's such a verse that can be interpreted in different ways.
Well,
Right. You have to interpret it into the way that works for you. Right. Even though that's not what the book says.
Maybe Calvin. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he hasn't read it. So let's go to Matthew 10:23, 16:27 through 28, and 24, 29 through 34, and we'll kind of illustrate the problem here. So the first time he mentions it in Matthew, he sends his disciples out to the villages to preach. And he says, when they persecute you in this town, flee to the next. For truly I tell you, you will not have finished going through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. Right? So What do you know about the Son of Man and the Son of Man's coming? What do you think that comes from?
I mean, again, it could be in terms of the resurrection, or it could be in terms of the end of the world.
No, no, come. Where's he coming from?
Could you repeat the verse again?
Yeah, the verse, Jesus says to his disciples, he says, "You will not have finished going through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes." Where's he coming from?
It could come from. I mean, again, to go with the resurrection, it could be him coming from. I guess if you do believe he was spent 3 days in hell, then from there. Or,
I think that you're scared to answer, so you have to run back to this. Oh, well, it could be this, it could be that, instead of just like
well, yeah, I mean,
looking
it
at what
could
the
be that.
fucking
That's
book
the thing.
says.
So,
Yeah, I mean, where do we find this idea of a Son of Man coming from? Where's this idea first mentioned?
you could say the Old Testament.
Daniel chapter 7, right? So there's one like the Son of Man who is in the clouds with God, who receives the kingdom from God and then sets up an earthly domain where all the nations are under his care. This is the Son of Man coming. It's always been interpreted as such, it's always been described as such. That's why when the Son of Man comes, first of all, it only happens once. It's not like something that's happening 10 times. The Son of Man is always coming on the clouds to the earth. That's why he says to Caiaphas in Matthew 26, here on forward, you will see the Son of Man coming with power and great glory on the clouds of heaven. He's not coming with the souls from Sheol. He's coming on the clouds of heaven, which he reiterates in Matthew 16. He says the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father. Then he will repay everybody for what has been done. Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. The angels, the glory of his Father, these are all things that happen in the clouds, which is why he depicts it in subsequent verses as coming on the clouds, like Matthew 24, right? It says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven." The coming of the
Right.
Son of Man is him coming from heaven to earth to institute an earthly perfect kingdom that had been given to him by his Father, and then he judges mankind. He repays them for all of their deeds. He says that this is going to happen within that generation still standing there before they even finish going through all the villages. This is just an abject failure.
Well, I mean, look again. A lot of Christians do interpret that as at least partly because of the resurrection.
Why?
Uh,
How do you interpret it?
I mean, given the verse, that's how I would interpret that.
Why?
Because I mean, the Son of Man, and like I said, the Son of Man did come back. He died, and then he resurrected.
Come back from heaven? Did he come
He
back
spent.
from the clouds of heaven?
I mean, you could. That's one way to interpret it. If he does, if that's how he's
No.
resurrected.
He's not resurrected from the clouds of heaven. He's resurrected from the ground.
Well, and he wasn't. Well, I mean, he technically wasn't in the ground. Like, he wasn't buried, but
He literally says, "I'll give you the sign of Jonah, buried in the earth for 3 days and 3 nights." Although it wasn't three, it was two, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. But my point is, he says he's coming on the clouds. There's no clouds in the ground or in Sheol.
I mean, look again. A lot of the Bible. I mean, there's a lot of like symbolic type of language. So, I mean, again, that could just be part
What do
of
the clouds of
his
heaven
resurrection.
symbolize?
He is so scared to be honest.
It's
I'm not.
crazy, Calvin.
No,
It's the religion that teaches you it's wrong to lie will also
I'm not
instruct you to
lying.
do
I'm saying
nothing
this.
but
I'm saying
lie.
this. I'm saying there's a lot of
Words have
interpretations of those
literally no
verses.
meaning in this religion whatsoever.
No, but I'm saying there's a lot of different interpretations of those verses.
Yeah, we're asking you to justify even one of them.
Well, look again. He came back in their lifetime. He died and he came back.
Not from the sky, not from the clouds.
I mean, just because you use the language of the cloud doesn't mean it's referring to to the end times.
What do the clouds mean?
It could just mean the sky.
Oh, the sky. We agree. He's supposed to come back from the sky. Yeah, yeah. When did that happen?
It happened when he resurrected.
No, no, it didn't. He didn't come back from the clouds.
Well, if you
Do you
do,
know?
well, here's
Do
the
you
thing.
know the difference? Calvin, I know Calvin knows the difference. Calvin, what's the difference between coming and going?
So coming would be is that you're leaving a place to get to a new destination, right? Going would be me currently in this place, leaving, right? So there's coming and there's leaving. Is Jesus coming or is he leaving?
He's coming.
With the clouds.
Could be.
That's
God,
what it
that could.
says.
It's just
Well, here's the
my blood
thing.
is boiling,
Jesus,
man, from the amount of could, like
no,
could,
but here,
could,
no, but
like
in order
be
to say
fucking
something's
certain about something. Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
all right, well,
Like,
calm
be
down. But
honest.
um,
Holy shit.
Jesus did tell the thief who died that he would
Oh
be with
no.
him in paradise. So I mean, you could say Jesus did spend time in heaven and then came back. But look,
No.
again, if you're trying to
No,
declare
no, no.
Christianity as a failed
He
apocalyptic, if you're
specifically
trying to declare
didn't
Christianity as a failed
he
apocalyptic
specifically
thing,
didn't go to heaven. There's no comma in Greek, right? So the way it should be read is, and in line with Jesus's, what they say about Jesus, which is, I tell you today that you will be with me in paradise. So the comma is after today. I'm telling you today, the thing I'm telling you today is that you will be with me in paradise. Obviously, he wasn't with Jesus in paradise on that day, because that day he went down to Sheol. And it's not even clear that the other guy died on that day. We have no idea when that person died.
I mean, no, but I mean, they both their deaths were imminent. They were crucified.
We don't know how long it took the thief to die. Jesus' death
Well, we
so
don't know, but
quickly was actually surprising. That's why when they went out to break their legs to quicken the death, and they're like, "What? This guy's already dead?" Like, what? Also,
well,
if you're Catholic, the Catholic doctrine says that Jesus, and it's in Peter, says that Jesus descended into hell to preach to the souls in hell. He didn't go to paradise. In fact, Jesus himself says he's going to spend 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the earth. He didn't say heaven.
all right, well, that's a fair point. But I mean, look, I mean, this call's been going for a while, and I do kind of have to get going.
Fair enough.
I do have a engagement. So,
All right,
good
Stan.
evening, gentlemen.
You've been a good sport. Thanks for coming by. All right. Calvin, I don't know if he had as much fun as he had hoped.
Man, it's like pulling teeth. I mean, like, words don't mean words is the most frustrating thing I can think of. Like, that's the number one way to piss me off, is that, like, the book says a thing, but it doesn't actually say that thing. You have to interpret it this way, and you have to jump through XYZ hoops and bend myself into a fucking pretzel to get me to a different place so that it sounds better, instead of just like reading the book and seeing what it says.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like I'm curious, like, cause like when I was a Christian, I never went through this nonsense of like, well, as long as we change the meaning of all these words, we can make it work. Like I don't know how we get to that point. Like the words seem to just have meanings, and
Whoa.
like if words have meanings, then it's a failure. It just means what it means they failed. No big deal. Just move on. So,
Exactly.
all right, friends, I said we're gonna get Nikki next from our TikTok queue. I'm gonna grab just a couple super chats. We'll get Nikki in here. Atlas, my friend, thank you for the super chat. Good to see you. It says I'm heading out into the mountains for a trail run, and I get to listen to you guys live. A great way to spend this early evening. Well, thank you, Atlas. I really appreciate that. And while I'm doing this, friends, go to the title of the YouTube video and drop Calvin a follow on YouTube if you haven't already, and go to TikTok, Insta, and Facebook and do Unquestionable Calvin I'm sure he'll pop up. I think there's only one person named Unquestionable Calvin on the
It's
platforms.
only me. It's only
Hey,
domain name that wasn't taken.
that's important, actually. Bacon and Bush says, "May the fourth be with you." Well, thank you, Bacon and Bush. Hopefully, the fourth will be with you, and may the courts be with you as well. The AC Mechanic, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, popping in just to say hey and support the channel. Much love to everything you two do. Rock hard for Doug. Well, thank you, Atheist Mechanic. He must already follow your content, so that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
think it sounds familiar. Sounds like familiar fella.
he actually supports quite a few different channels. Narcissa, my friend, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Says, Stan, I will pay you to say it's alive. It's alive. It must be. Is that a movie? Is that from Frankenstein?
Yeah, I guess that's a Frankenstein reference. Yeah.
I think that might be. That might be. Devil's PD, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. And trust me, God's got enough public defenders. The devil needs to get a couple. When Jesus comes on the clouds with his angels, is the unclean until evening? Well, listen, that has to count at a minimum as a nocturnal emission. Like, it just seems like if we're going to classify it as something, so he's got to be unclean. Maybe we should segregate that guy for at least 7 days. Daniel, spending date night hoping for some serious cooking. Shout out to my husband, Hario. Rock hard for Doug. I hope I said that. Is it Hario? Well, Daniel, thank you. Danielle, not Daniel. Danielle, thank you so much for the super chat. And I'm thrilled that you're going to spend your date night out here watching Calvin and myself. It is a huge compliment, I would say. And Slow TDI says, "Oh, I would run too, guest. I would run too if I knew my God violated free will and commanded atrocities, but was too slimy to actually interact." Actually, that's the craziest thing. God does all these atrocities. Then he's like, "But I demand you believe in me, or I'll murder you and burn you alive forever, but I will never give you proof." And
It's giving abusive boyfriend.
Yes, exactly. Exploding Tiger says, "Thank you for your insight, talents, and efforts." Well, thank you, Exploding Tiger. I super appreciate that, friend. And we're gonna get Nikki in here. We've got whatever super chats we don't read between guests, we always read at the end of the show. So don't worry, you're not gonna get skipped. We'll make sure that they all get read. But we're gonna get Nikki in here and keep the conversation rolling. How you doing, Nikki?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. Nikki, are you at least 18?
Yes, sir. 26.
Awesome. And are you a believer?
I am not myself. I had a question for both of y'all. I also love both of y'all's content. Y'all are a power duo on here, but I do think it's really relevant, if you don't mind.
Well, we're just doing debates. I had like a 5-hour Q&A yesterday, and so I do a Q&A once or twice a month, and the reason why I do that is because people coming up to ask questions just bores the audience here. So I'll have to ask that you come back on a Q&A day, my friend.
Okay, I understand that completely. It was about different like translations and stuff, which I do think is relevant, but I understand either way. So
Sure
fair
thing.
enough. Y'all have a good one then.
All right, cheers, buddy.
I do the same thing too. I do, probably like monthly, maybe every 2 weeks, I'll do like just a Q&A stream where anyone can call in, theist or not. So, I mean, same thing, you can always just call in whenever I'm up, and
Yeah,
just,
for
check. I
sure.
always have a prompt too that tells what the live is about.
Yeah. Like the reality is, like everyone here is loading up because it's a debate night and they want to see a debate. The minute I start taking questions from the audience, it's just going to turn into nothing but it's just going to turn into a Q&A. So we're trying to keep that from happening. Let's bring in from the YouTube queue Joel Martinez then and keep the conversation moving. How you doing, Joel?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep.
Sweet. Yeah, so I am a believer actually. So really quick, I guess with your prompt, is it are you guys just sticking to the prompt, or can we go off more and talk more about Christianity as
I
it being the
mean,
truth in my opinion?
this is about Christianity. If you think Christianity is true, I think you're.
Okay.
Calvin. I'd be happy to hear some reasons why you think Christianity is true, and then we'll tell you why it's not.
Okay. Well, I mean, one thing you mentioned the atrocities that God made. So are you saying that there was something immoral that God has done?
Again,
according to the Bible?
I'm saying that, like, I think Calvin and I agree on this. The claim is not that we have an objective standard that we're judging God by. We're judging God
Okay.
by whatever standard is that the Christian themselves has. So if we asked you, is it ever right to use cannibalizing someone's children as a punishment, what would you say?
Yeah, so where in the Bible does it say that
I
God
didn't. I'm just waiting for yes or
well
no.
no
Like in your moral system, is it ever okay to punish somebody by causing them to eat their children?
no.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so that's what we're saying. We're just pointing
Okay.
out that in your whatever framework you think you have, there are moral contradictions because God does cause and brags about causing people to cannibalize their own children as a punishment. Just like you would probably say it's never right to sexually assault a woman, yet God causes the sexual assault of women. These are just contradictions within your own worldview. We're not saying that we have an objective standard that we're
I
using to
see.
judge God by.
I understand. Yeah, you're using the standard that Christians have against them, and I understand that point. So that makes more sense,
Hmm.
brings more clarity. I guess my what I would say against that is this: the Bible's very descriptive, but that doesn't mean that God is condoning certain actions. So just because the Bible describes actions taking place, it doesn't mean he's necessarily condoning all of that.
I mean, I
But
agree with you. I agree that just because like it's describing something doesn't mean that God is actually condoning or commanding it, but like he does. He does. It's not a description. It's
where does
Yeah.
he
describing what
where
he
does he
did. Yeah.
condone people to eat? Where does he condone people to eat their children?
Well, actually, I'll show you. It's in Jeremiah 19. I'm going to show you
Oh
this
yeah.
one though that I definitely don't think that you can like say that this is just God watching it happen. So in Hosea 13, he's talking about punishing Ephraim for their
I'm sorry. Is it
disobedience.
I'm sorry. Was it Hosea or Jeremiah?
We're going to go to Hosea 13, then Jeremiah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Calvin, if you got a passage you want to bring up on any of these topics, let me know. I'll plug it in and we'll throw it up on
Oh yeah, I was gonna
screen.
bring up Jeremiah 19:9. You're already had
Perfect.
me.
Perfect. So in Hosea 13, God is talking about what he's going to do to the northern Israelites. He says, I will fall upon them like a bear robbed of her cubs. I will tear open the covering of their heart. I will devour them like a lion, as a wild animal would mangle them. I will destroy you, O Israel. Who can help you? Where now is your king, that he may save you? Where in all of your cities are your rulers, of whom you said, give me a king and rulers? So he said, God is explicitly saying, this punishment that's about to happen to you, I'm doing this. I'm going to come and fuck you up. And how's he going to do it? Well, he obviously it's through the Assyrian army, and what's going to happen when that happens, right? He says in verse 16 that Samaria shall bear her guilt because she has rebelled against her God. They shall fall by the sword, their little ones dashed to pieces, and pregnant women ripped open. So he's specifically saying, hey, these consequences of war that the Syrians are going to inflict on you, I'm causing it. I'm going to eat you up like a lion.
So I think God allows things to happen because of sin that has taken place.
But
And when God if God is the moral arbitrator of the universe and he created everything, then it would be rightfully so he can almost do what he wills. And if
Always
he
special
feels
pleading.
that you said what?
It's always special pleading.
What does that mean, special bleeding?
No, just like the last guy was doing the special pleading thing, and here you are too saying God can do what he wants because he's, might
Well,
equals right.
I think it's more so of a consequence. You'll never see God kill somebody for no or a group of people
Is
or
God allowing them to eat babies, or is he making a promise that they're going to eat their babies?
well, God isn't doing the eating of the babies. So I
What does
think
the book
because of
say?
that, what God isn't the one saying I'm going to eat your baby.
Sure, but what is he
Okay.
going to make the people do?
Well, he allows that to happen.
No, he
and
makes
due
them
to
to.
their sin. Well, I think also too there is hyperbole in a lot of it. For example, there's many verses in the Old Testament that say annihilate
Yes,
the
words don't mean
and
words. Yes,
yes,
there you are.
annihilate the Canaanites. And you'll still see them in later passages in different books hundreds of
But
years later.
that's
So
because they didn't.
he
But
didn't actually
but
annihilate them.
the text says that they didn't annihilate them.
No, but I'm saying there is hyperbole in the Bible in other
Yeah,
cases
but
where this could be.
hyperbole is something akin to like you're going to try to say, listen, when we talks about genocide, there were some survivors, therefore the moniker of entirely destroy is hyperbolic, and that may be true, but that doesn't mean that they didn't go in and murder a huge number of them in the most vicious ways possible, like dashing babies' heads against stones and ripping pregnant women open, which we know were practices that were done in those days. The kings that did them, like the Neo-Assyrians, literally bragged about doing it, drew pictures about doing it. So this wasn't like just a hyperbolic statement. Whoever wrote this text knew that this was what happens when nations go to war, and God says, I'm going to cause this to happen. I will fall on them like a bear robbed of her cubs.
Yeah, I think again, a lot of these prophecies take place, and it was a foretelling of what was going to happen if the people of Israel disobeyed God, and it was specifically for these people in this specific time. It wasn't like this isn't like a law that was going to continuously happen
Well,
to people.
do me a favor then. I've got verse 7 and 8 on the screen. You should be able to see it. I just want you to read verse 7 and 8 and tell me what this means.
It's very blurry for me, but I'm gonna pull it up on my end if that's
Sure.
okay. Is this Hosea or this is
Hosea
Hosea?
13, 7 and 8.
Okay, Hosea 13. And then verses 7 through 8, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. 7 to 8. Okay. All right. So it says, so I will be like a lion to them, like a leopard I will lurk by the path, like a bear robbed of her cubs. I will attack them and rip them open. Like a lion, I will devour them, a wild animal tear them apart. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly hyperbole.
Well, I'm not asking if it's hyperbole. I'm saying who's taking credit for all this behavior?
Well, God is obviously taking credit for his wrath of judgment.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
there's
you
God
got
also
it.
flooded the
You got it.
entire earth.
So
So
the invading army is invading because of God's causation. God is stirring them up from the northeast to come and do this, which is actually what he says elsewhere. He says, I'm whistling for these people to come down and do this, he says.
yeah, but God's wrath doesn't go against his moral standard. That's
Well,
a part of his moral standard. So
no, it goes against your moral standard.
No, because we're because against in our I'm not allowed to go and kill somebody for no reason, but God, as the moral arbitrator of the universe, he's allowed to cast judgment
You got it.
on
Okay.
those who disobey him.
So then
So at the end of the day,
sometimes it is okay to rip pregnant women open and bang babies' heads against stones till they die.
God is the moral arbitrator of the universe. So when he decides to cast judgment on a group of people for their disobedience,
I didn't hear yes
that
or
is
no.
morally
Calvin, did you
okay.
hear yes or no?
No, I didn't hear anywhere in there.
All right,
God can do that. Yes, he's not.
So again, the question
I can't.
is it ever okay in any circumstance to rip a pregnant woman open by the sword and bash the baby's heads against a rock?
For me to do it, no, but for God to annihilate whoever he so choose to do so, yes.
Okay,
Especially if they're in disobedience to him.
So sometimes
but
it is
but
okay.
why would that?
What if God told you to
But
do
yeah,
it?
so and if God tells me to do something, I would do it because that's God telling me to do it. But the thing is, he wouldn't tell me to do it.
He would tell you to do it. He told the Assyrians to do
No,
it. So
he
if
didn't. He didn't
God,
tell
What do
them
you
to do
say
it.
to those
He
people
didn't.
who go and
He
like
didn't
they
tell.
kill
No,
their
but that
whole
you got it wrong
family
now. No,
What do
but you guys
do?
got it wrong. He
What's
didn't
your
tell
opinion
the
on those people that like kill their whole family
but
and then
you
say
guys
that God told them to do it?
you guys have it wrong because he didn't tell the Assyrians to do it. He allowed the
Oh, no,
Assyrians to
no.
do it.
He says he's causing it.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but he
so
allowed
hang on, Joel.
allowed it to
It never
happen.
says
But
allow
he
once.
didn't tell. But and it never says that he told the Assyrians to do it.
Yeah, actually, he does say that in the text. Go
It
ahead.
says
Go
that
ahead.
he told.
Go ahead and cope as much as you want, but God takes credit for bringing the Assyrians.
Yeah, but he never told the Assyrians to do it.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He caused it by allowing it to happen.
No, he
So
didn't
just
say
like how you
that.
say, oh,
He didn't
no,
say
he didn't
what.
say that.
Not
Yeah,
once
but
does
you're
he
saying
ever
that.
mention allow. He never says the word allow.
Yeah, but he
He
never said. But
he explicitly says, "I'm doing it." In fact,
it
in one of the
also
most famous prophecies of the Bible, Isaiah 7, talking about the same event, God says, "The Lord, that's Yahweh, Yahweh will bring on you and on your people and on your ancestral house such days as have not come since the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, the king of Assyria." So the prophet is saying God is bringing the king of Assyria upon you. He's not saying God's just letting it happen. He's saying, no, he's bringing the king down on top of you.
correct. And the Assyrians don't believe in God.
So what? No,
The
they don't.
Assyrians don't.
They
The
don't believe
Assyrians
in.
don't. Okay,
They
but
don't believe in the Jewish God.
the Assyrian exactly. So the Assyrians don't have any direct communication with the Jewish God. So they're not being told
Well,
by God to go and do these things. This is God allowing the
it's weird that
Assyrians
you
to
keep running back
overrun
to the
and
word
to.
told. No one said that God audibly spoke to them. That's never been a claim.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, because you're saying that God himself went down there and ripped up these pregnant women when in reality what
We're saying
actually
he's
happened
causing it to happen. Meaning it
he
would not
causes
happen.
everything
It
is
would not happen unless God instigated
allowed
it to
it.
happen.
Okay, so you're using every word but allowed. But what
Because
happened
the
is
Because there's
text,
a difference between cause and
he
allow.
didn't.
That's
Yeah,
why.
but he didn't go inside of the Assyrians' bodies and physically do the act.
actually he could.
Allowed.
So he hardened the
could,
hearts of
technically, but
he hardened the hearts of the Canaanites to draw them out to war. Are you suggesting God
and
couldn't have done that to the Assyrians?
what I'm saying is God's judgment. There's nothing sinful about his
Calvin,
judgment.
they've never read this book
If his
ever.
judge,
No.
there's nothing. What I'm saying is there's nothing sinful about God's wrath on people who go against
Listen,
him.
we're not saying anything about sinfulness. We're just trying to understand the nature of causation. So in the same book in Isaiah 10,
Yep.
God says, "Woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger, the club in their hands is my fury. Against a godless nation I send him, and against the people of my wrath I command him." Oh, God is commanding Assyria. It's almost like you haven't read the book.
Well, I think
about
too,
that?
what you're also doing is you're also attributing
Well, actually,
an act that God can do.
Did
to
God
saying
command
it's
the Assyrians
immoral.
or not?
Well, in that one, yeah, and regardless, and
And what else? Wait,
let's say, okay, he does.
What did he command them to do? Just read the verse. Look, he says, "Command him to take spoil, to seize plunder, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets." That's what God commands. God says, "Go fuck them up."
What I'm saying is, if God is the moral arbitrator of the universe, which is our worldview, why is it wrong that he does that?
so
Oh.
listen, Joel, if you just for this hypothetical, right? Hypothetically, you're the moral arbiter of the universe, right?
Okay.
Would you ever make this a punishment or a commandment? Would you ever make this commandment if you were in charge of all morals?
Well, I'm not God, so it's hard for me to.
I wasn't asking if you were God. I'm just asking you a question. Like,
I don't know.
If you were the arbiter of morals, would you do that?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Because
Kinda
the
scary
morals.
that you don't know.
Well,
'Cause,
because
like,
the morals.
watch. I'll ask Justin. If
Well,
you
no,
were the
I get
moral
what you're
arbiter
saying. No,
of
I
everything in the
get
universe,
what
would
you're.
you do this?
I get what you're saying, and obviously you're right.
Fuck no! I would never cause this to happen ever.
Whoa,
Yeah, but you're
crazy.
saying no. But you're saying no. But you don't have any moral standard to say that against.
I
just
do.
saying that
I have a moral standard. Yeah, it just doesn't agree with
you
your
have
moral
you have
standard.
a subjective moral standard. You
So
don't
do
have an
you.
objective moral standard.
You don't have an objective moral standard.
How do I not have? an objective moral standard?
Because you fundamentally don't
I
understand
have
what
a
it means
moral
to be
arbitrator. I have a standard.
objective.
I have
So
something above that I
objective
look up
doesn't
to.
mean that it comes above you. Objective means that it has an independent existence, independent of any and all minds. And if your moral
Yeah,
standard
well,
comes from God's mind, that means it's subjective. It's subject to your God's mind, which means it's not objective. This is like the earliest dialogue of all philosophy. Like this is Plato 101.
no,
Just go read the Euthyphro
because the
dilemma.
definite no, because there is no morality without God.
Wrong.
So there is no morality
I
without
don't
God.
believe in God, and I've got a moral system.
there's
Calvin,
only
you got a moral system, don't you?
Yeah.
But
It's
but
all you have are opinions.
wait, but
all you
God
guys
didn't
really
give
have
that
are
to you?
no.
all you guys have are opinions,
Oh,
though.
it's wild because this guy is saying that you don't have any moral system.
That's crazy. Hey Joel, did you know that if you're following the moral standard of your God, that means that you do believe in subjective morals because
Mhm.
you're following God's subjective morals. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, but the morality that you guys are standing
But
for is nothing. It's
but why
for
do
whatever
we
you feel,
why do
and
we care
it's
about
your
God's
opinion.
why do we care about God's subjective morals?
Well, because he's the creator of the universe and he
So
created
what?
morality.
Because
So
might
what?
equals
What
right.
we know, right
What
equals right doesn't mean anything.
give me one good reason why Calvin and myself should first of all believe that your God's morals are good, and second, follow your God's morals.
Well, I think number one is because he exists. I get
Well,
it. Like, all right, I'm gonna sit here. I'll
we're
step
gonna
back real
we're
quick, and
gonna
I'll
grant
say,
you
I'll,
his,
s-
we're
well,
gonna grant you his
well,
existence
I'll
for
step
now,
back.
even though obviously we don't
I'll
believe he exists. We're asking you to give us a reason why we
100%.
should even care.
Well, if you grant the existence, that's the only reason you guys should care.
No,
Because I'll step back and say,
why
hey,
should
you
I
guys are
care?
more.
Why should I care if God gives me a command?
Well, number one, because he created you, so he knows what's
So
best
what?
for you.
How do we know that?
Because he created you.
How do we
Don't care.
how do we know that he knows what's best or even wants what's best? Are there not parents who have children that do horrible things to their children? That doesn't mean just because you created somebody you know what's best. So let's try this on again. Why should we even believe that what your God wants for us is good? And what like normative authority does your God have over us other than to avoid getting punished by hell?
Well, it wouldn't be punished by hell. That would be your decision.
No,
See, you're
it wouldn't.
deciding. You're deciding
And
to
this
not.
is completely wrong, but also it's irrelevant because it doesn't answer my question. If God punishes you with hell if you don't obey him, I'm just asking, is that the only reason to obey him?
No, because like I said before, he knows what's best for you, and then I'll elaborate on it because I know you were asking, how do we know that he wants what's best for us, right? Like, how do we know that?
How do you know
And then
that God,
yeah.
that any of his commands are good?
Well, I think number one, just the fact that you guys can acknowledge that there is a good and a bad.
We didn't
Just
do
the
that.
fact that but can you guys agree that there is such thing as good, or is it
Uh,
all an opinion?
It's always subjective, unless Calvin disagrees, but I'm pretty sure Calvin and
So
I
then
agree
if
on
it's
Full
this.
agreement
always so then if it's always
Yeah,
subjective,
it's always
then
subjective. So
if it's
what we're
always
asking
subjective,
for
then
you to figure out is if it's always subjective, and we all agree it's subjective. You already agreed that your God's laws and morals are subjective; they come from God's mind. So why should? Yeah, that's just we're
he is
gonna.
because he is the creator.
Joel, just stop for 5 fucking seconds. I'm not gonna do this 5 times with you, okay? I don't have the patience to go over the word objective 100 times tonight. So listen once, okay? Something that's objective exists independent of any fucking minds. Your God is a mind. If morals come from your God, then they're not objective, they're subjective. Are we clear?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so I
guess so, but
need you to say that God's morals are subjective then.
well, he's the creator of
I need
morality.
you
That's
to
the
say
difference.
that God's morals are subjective.
They're not subjective because he creates morality.
Okay,
He is
then
the inventor.
we'll try this again. Something that
Okay.
comes from a mind is called what?
Something that comes from a mind.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Okay, I'll grant that just so that we can move forward. I get what you're saying. It's subjective
You got it.
to God. Okay, to God, just so we can move forward. Okay.
I think Calvin
I'm
was saying
saying,
something. I interrupted him because I was tired of doing the ring around. What were you
sorry.
going to say there, Calvin?
Oh no, I don't even remember what I was saying.
Yeah, I don't want to spend 5
Sorry.
minutes on the objective,
I get it.
subjective
I get it.
nonsense. Let's just get beyond that because everyone already
Okay.
knows that what's happening here.
Okay.
All right. So the
So-
point is, we're trying to figure out why. Calvin and I both have some subjective moral framework. Your God has some subjective moral framework. We're trying to figure out why we should care about your God's subjective moral framework as opposed to our own.
Well, I think number one, because being that he is the creator of the universe, you guys, obviously,
We
you guys
don't
are going to use
care.
obscure.
I don't know how else to explain, Joel, that like we don't care that he created. Like if I had some magic superpower to where I could create a little human, right? I had some power. I
What?
could just make a little actual small person, right? And then I smashed it. Does that mean that what I did was, in your opinion, a good action by killing this small human just because I created it?
Well, I'm saying then any reason I give you guys, you would just say the same thing. I don't care because
Okay,
that's just you
that
guys.
wasn't a yes or
There's
no
no.
question.
I can't
It
give
was a
you
yes or
guys.
no question. I just needed a yes or no. If I was able to create a small human and then I killed it, in your opinion, is that a good action or a bad action?
If it was really a human, it would be a bad action
So why does your God get a pass?
because because he is God and he is the moral arbitrator of the universe. Even though it is subjective, we are under his rule in this universe. If there was a different universe and somebody else was a different moral arbitrator, then it would be their
Oh
rule and
no.
what they say.
Wait. Just to be clear, you're saying if Satan finally was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. I don't want nothing to do with this universe. And he goes and creates another universe and he's the master of that universe and he just wants to like rip women open, sexually assault them and like, I don't know, murder babies. Then we would say that all those things are morally good because Satan's the king of that universe.
If he's the moral arbitrator of that universe, there's a difference. I can be the king of a country, but that doesn't mean because I killed the people in my country, it's
So it
okay.
sounds then that like what Calvin said about 10 minutes ago was right. Your moral system is might makes right.
In this universe, under God's arbitrary moral standard that we all live under, that we can't get around. The thing is, you guys don't have
Wait.
any kind of moral standard.
Are you going to recognize
What's
that we've like Calvin pegged you 10 minutes ago that your moral framework is just that might makes right?
Also, you
Say it again.
misrepresented us again by saying that we don't have a moral standard when we've already explained that we do have a moral standard. It's just subjective. So like that's just dishonest to continue to say.
Well, I guess it's just an opinion. So you guys could
But so is
technically,
yours.
you guys could, no, not necessarily, because I have an actual framework under which,
Oh no, you
see,
don't.
you guys pull out obscure verses of in the Old Testament
Well, your
of
framework is God said
putting
it.
Yeah, well, it's God's wrath, which is totally moral.
So
It's
wrath
like
is moral?
wrath is moral. Yeah, if somebody tries
is
to come in and kill my if somebody tries to
but
come in and kill my family and I kill that person, is that immoral?
well,
For you guys, it doesn't matter because you
you
guys
just
don't even
fucking
know
said
what,
immoral.
or is it immoral or whatever, however you say.
So
No, but you know what I mean. Like you
personally,
guys,
I
you guys
don't
have an
think
opinion.
I don't think harming another human being in any way is ever moral unless you have no other option. Like if you have to harm somebody to save your own life or you have to harm somebody to save the life of others, then you're doing what you have to do. But it should only be like last resort. I would never do it just because I was like I don't like what you did, now I'm gonna murder you, or like I don't like
I
what you
agree.
did, so I'm gonna kill your babies, which is what God does. God literally murders babies because he doesn't like what their parents are doing.
Funny enough, my shirt today actually says, "Remember when God killed all the babies?"
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess, and I'll be honest with you guys. You guys are both really, like, you know, what you guys are saying, it is making me think. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you guys for that because you guys have been both very respectful. And you know, some people can get kind of nasty when
That
we have
does
conversations like
happen.
this.
Yeah,
So
but
I do appreciate you guys for being very like respectful and honestly giving me you guys a good viewpoint because you guys are making me think. It's like, okay, you're right. There is a in a way, when you think about it, of God, it is his moral standard, so it is subjective to God. I get that. I guess my point really is this: it's the fact that I personally think God, it's almost undisputable that there is a creator.
Well, let's
So
go there.
with that,
You want to?
so with that, we kind of have
Do you
to
want to?
go to
Joel,
his
you want to?
rule, if that makes sense.
We want to do a cut here with the moral argument and move on to whether or not like your God is real, or
Yeah, I mean, I guess, are we gonna do just a Christian God or just a creator in general, just like
I mean,
theism versus
I
atheism?
I think it's up to you. You've been honest with us with your viewpoint up to here that I'm not going to force you to do an argument for Christianity. I would say this though, that a lot of the people watching would be more interested if your argument ended with the Christian God. It's more
Okay, let's do
exciting.
that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And there's more. We have a whole book to go off of, and all that. So I get it.
Mhm.
Okay. So I mean, look, my point would be this. With the Christian God, specifically God in general, do you guys are you guys atheist or agnostic?
Both.
Yeah, I'd say we are on the same page where we're agnostic atheists, meaning we don't have knowledge of God. That's what it means to be agnostic. You're without knowledge. And then but we're also atheists. Now, if it happens that some great argument came about that convinced me that there was a God, I wouldn't be Christian, but I would believe in God. It just happens to be that I
see.
definitely don't believe in the Christian God for sure.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
And I second that.
So, okay. That makes more sense. And I think that's more of a logical viewpoint than people who just don't think there's ever a chance of there being a God. Okay. So for the Christian, I guess for the Christian argument that I'll make is number one, obviously, Jesus Christ. The amount of evidence that, number one, not only that he lived, but that he was crucified and rose from the dead, I think solidifies so I think there's enough proof and enough documents to prove that what Jesus did, said, and rising from the dead is more of a historical fact than 99% of history
This is
that
a bad
we
time to
that we
mention that I'm a
agree.
mythicist.
Yeah, can you be
That you're
specific? Calvin here doesn't even believe that Jesus existed, so
No, he's purely a storybook character, man.
Okay, so Calvin, I like to argue. What about you, Justin? You don't believe Jesus existed?
I think it's likely that a person similar to Jesus existed, but the character in the Bible, that character absolutely didn't exist. But
But
to
I
be
mean, to be
to be
fair, like for
fair,
the sake of like this
Mhm.
argument, I know that like when I bring up the mythicism thing, it goes down like this whole rabbit hole of like now everyone wants to talk about mythicism. Like we can kind of hash it out for a minute, but like I don't
Okay.
want to stick on that topic for the
Yeah,
sake
we
of
don't
like
have
our
to.
conversation. I can grant that he was a real person and
I'll-
stuff
I can
like
just say
that.
I can just say my point of why I think he was real, and then you can
Sure.
say yours, and then we don't have to like rebuttal. So, if that's okay.
Sure. I mean, what
Mhm.
really it comes down for me is lack of evidence. You know, I don't believe he existed because I don't think there's enough evidence to warrant believing he existed. That's bottom line.
Whew, that's tough though, man, because then you have to go with Caesar. Augustus
No, I
doesn't
don't.
exist. Well, okay, so then there are probably, I think, 12 more documents that Jesus of Nazareth existed than Alexander the Great. So you would have to say Alexander the Great didn't exist.
Nah,
Um,
because it's not just about historical documentation.
I think 99% of atheists would conclude that Jesus did exist, though. It's kind of a hard.
99% of statistics are pulled out of your ass.
Okay, so then did Alexander the Great exist in your opinion?
Maybe. I haven't really looked into it.
So
I don't really care that much.
to be fair, I think we've got different types of evidence for Alexander. So from contemporary with the time period he lived in, we've got statues, carvings, coins, all with his face and name on it, and the countries that he conquered wrote about them getting their asses kicked by him.
Well, Jesus also wasn't a general of an army, so
Well, that's why the evidence is different.
the evidence is different.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyways, I don't want to
you
get
have
stuck on the
Jewish.
mythicism thing because I
Okay,
think
okay.
it's
So we
kind of
can just
boring,
go to the.
So
I agree.
Jesus existed, right? Jesus is
The
a
o-
real person. So now
Okay.
what makes you think
Okay,
that
so
he
my
died
thing
and
is this.
resurrected?
100%. Okay, so obviously we can only go based off of the historical documents and facts that we have from the past. Like, there's no video recording, obviously, right? And so we have to grant that he existed. Okay. Now let me ask you guys a question. When there is an Islamist extremist right? And I'm not just saying it's just Islam, but we're just using an example. If there's an Islamic extremist who does a terrorist act, or any type of extremist of any religion or any country does a terrorist act, do you guys believe that they believe what they're doing is right, or do you guys believe that what they believe is true to them?
Okay, so like for example, if we're looking at like the World Trade Center, you know, those people flying the planes into the World Trade Center, they did
Correct.
that because they thought their religion was true and that they're going to get, you know, whatever reward they get when they go to heaven. They believed in Islam, et cetera, right? Cool. But that
Correct.
doesn't mean that it's true. Like if I take my car and I drive it into the side of a building in the name of Bigfoot, does that mean that Bigfoot exists or just that I believe that Bigfoot?
100%. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'm just saying that it would be very logical to believe that they believed what they were doing was right and true. Not saying that it was true.
I don't know if I would even necessarily agree that they think what they were doing was right. I think they're just more so doing it because that's what they believed they had to do.
I think it's mixed, and I'll give you a reason why. And I don't want to muddy the waters or bog down the conversation, but I'll tell you why I think it's mixed. I used to be married to someone who her parents immigrated from Egypt. They immigrated from Egypt to Canada. They were mostly a mix of Plymouth Brethren and Coptic Christians, and they moved because their neighbors kept trying to unalive them. Their Muslim neighbors did. Now, it turns out they're actually friends with their Muslim neighbors. They turned out to probably be okay people, but the ultimatum that happened was that the religious leaders above them said, either you know, unalive your Christian neighbors or we unalive you. So there's a certain number of people inside the religion that are like coerced into performing acts of religious violence. It's not always true that the ones that are doing it actually believe what they're doing is right. Sometimes it's just self-preservation.
Okay. So, okay, that makes sense. So I guess I was going to mirror this back to the disciples,
Right.
which it wouldn't be the case with the case that you just made, Justin, because the disciples didn't have anybody saying, hey, we're going to kill you unless you spread this message. But I guess my point is this: the disciples are the only group of people in human history to claim not only that they saw something, but also gain nothing from it.
I think that's
Other
just a
than,
bullshit lie.
okay, so it's really just hearsay if you
Wait,
just
wait,
say it's
wait,
a lie.
wait, no, because they were going to gain. Remember, Jesus told his disciples that they're going to be ruling and reigning over the 12 tribes of Israel. Like,
Of
this was a
course,
huge upgrade for them. They were fucking
it was,
fishermen.
but but the thing is this: they wouldn't believe that they would be ruling if they didn't actually see Jesus rise from the dead. If they did see,
Mm-hmm.
if they didn't see Jesus rise from the dead, Christianity is a dead religion.
Oh,
They don't.
no.
It's just a guy who lived, made some teachings, did some miracles, told them they were gonna, sit next to him, and then he died. He never rose from the dead. It was after he rose from the dead, and they saw him with their own eyes, according to the documents, of course, which you guys can obviously disagree with, but according to the documents, and from there they went out and started proclaiming, hey, we saw Jesus rise from the dead. We saw him in flesh in person. And they didn't
Which
gain anything from that. All they
which
did
is
was get persecuted and died.
exactly, well, we don't know how they died. We know how the two Jameses died, and we know possibly how Paul died, and we
And
might
Peter,
know how Peter died. The document that gives us the account of Peter's death is like hopelessly full of nonsense. Like there's a dog that gives a speech, and then a baby sucking at his mother's teeth that ends up giving a speech. It's just a nonsensical story.
It's so wild.
So we don't really know how most of the disciples died, but I don't know. Let's just assume eventually they got killed, right? We're not sure where this argument helps you, because listen, if you've got a group of people following the disciples, let's say that there's 1,000, maybe 2,000 of them, who knows? And it's already in the zeitgeist that, hey, these 12 guys, minus Judas, obviously, these 12 guys, they're really important. They're going to be ruling and reigning over all y'all. You can see why they would want to keep the charade going, especially because, remember, their ministry was being supported by outsiders. Now it is basically just your traditional cult where outsiders are funding their work, and all they got to do is keep the scam going.
Yeah, but you don't lie. Nobody lies about something that they know is false,
How do
and
you know
then
that they were lying?
well,
What if
because
maybe they
they
were truly convinced that it was true, but that doesn't mean that it was?
so you're saying that 12 different people all hallucinated and thought they saw Jesus and
Do you think that it's
didn't see Jesus.
possible?
I think it's a lot less likely than what
But it's
actually.
possible.
I mean, anything's possible. God is real, and the Christian God is real can be possible. So I can say the same thing to you. It's possible that the Christian God is real, right? Or is that not possible
Oh,
in your
actually,
perspective?
Possible that monkeys could fly out of my ass.
Okay, so then
yeah,
yeah,
I
That's
so
think
it's the
plausible.
same exact thing.
I think
So what I'm
possibility
saying
is
is this:
a.
it's more
I think
likely.
possibility though is like within the bounds of logic, right? So I think Calvin and I would agree that things that are outside of the laws of logic are probably not likely to be possible, and the Trinitarian nonsense is outside of logic. So it might be true that Yahweh could exist, but there's no way that the Trinity exists. That's preposterous.
Well, I don't think it's illogical because if God is the description that we give him, omniscient, all powerful,
Well, let's not
why
get
couldn't?
bogged. Let's not get bogged down on that point. I love talking about the Trinity, but I don't want to derail the current conversation. So I
Yeah, yeah,
think
yeah, okay,
what
I get
Calvin's
you.
trying to suggest is, and don't let me put words in your mouth there, Calvin, but he's trying to suggest it is possible that the disciples were deceived in one way or another, and I know of a number of different ways that they could have been deceived on this particular point. But I want Calvin to run this one.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's totally possible that I can grant, these people were convinced that, they believed that Jesus was, who he was, right? I can grant that. Great, they believed that. But that doesn't make it true because I could believe that same thing but substitute Jesus for Bigfoot, right? And I could be willing to die or, sacrifice myself or sacrifice others in the name of Bigfoot, but it doesn't make it true. There's a number of reasons why. I mean, everything from maybe they did have some sort of psychological break and they all had some sort of mass hysterical event where they all maybe were seeing the same thing that wasn't actually there. Mass hysteria is a thing. It's a real thing that happens. I mean, it could have been maybe there wasn't even 12 disciples. Maybe there was only a couple guys and they added in a couple extra disciples because again, we don't really know how any of them died, right? It could be, yeah, it could be that they just were making up a story, or maybe the story got twisted over time. Like there's so many different possibilities, right? But you're just jumping straight to has to be Invisible Magic Man. That's the truth. I'm just not sure how you're getting there.
Well, what I'm saying is the evidence leads more likely to that than
What is
to
the
a.
evidence?
Well, the evidence is number one, historical documents written in the same century, and
Whoa,
Okay, so we
which
have
documents are you
documents that
talking
says a
about?
guys saw a thing. What's that?
let me finish my point, and then you guys can pick that apart. But especially with what you're saying, Calvin, is that what I'm saying is backed up by written documents, eyewitness testimony, accounts from that time in the day. You're derailing to a possibility of something that's a lot less likely by historical standards.
No, I think it's more likely that people had a mass hysterical event rather than there was an ancient magic Jewish man who appeared in front of them with magic
Okay.
superpowers.
Well,
I think it's
I
more
guess
likely my scenario.
I see. Well, to finish the point is this too. He didn't just appear to the 12 disciples according to documents. Obviously, I wasn't there. He appeared to, they say, over 500 people, which would explain the massive growth of Christianity and how fast it rapidly grew.
Oh,
And not
it
only how
didn't,
fast did
but
it
that's
grow,
neither here nor there.
well, not only how fast did it grow, but also the fact that it grew without any type of until the Crusades, until any type of crazy like territory taking like it did in Islam. It
Well,
grew
that's
very
simply
organic.
not
Bro
true
It
has
grew
either.
never read
But
the Bible.
it grew much more
get to the
organically.
documentation. That's a whole nother talking point.
Well, the documentation, I mean, even in the Dead Sea Scrolls, you can see obviously a lot of Old Testament documents that were identical, written
No,
of the entire Old Testament of Isaiah.
No,
no,
And
that's not true.
dude, the
so
Dead Sea
the so
Scrolls
the
is like barely anything at all. We have like a couple fragments of a couple
the
verses.
Dead
It's
Sea
not.
Scrolls has all of Isaiah 43, I believe, or 42, identical to what we have today. It's like
No,
Couple
it
factual.
fragments.
no, it
That's
doesn't.
not e- that's not a debate.
It is a
It is a
debate. You want me to show you the differences?
Pull it up. Isaiah
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
43,
You
suffering
and
servant.
Calvin. Oh, fuck me. You and Calvin keep talking. I'll pull up the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Okay. But I think Calvin, yes, you're right. In a way, it's like these are very unverifiable things, and that goes with all of history, or
So
the majority
why
of
do you go
history.
for the supernatural outcome rather than the natural outcome that maybe they just had a psychotic episode?
Well, because that's way less likely.
No,
That's
it's
just
not. I think an ancient bearded magic man in the sky is a lot less likely than guys just having a mental
I don't.
episode.
The reason why I don't think it's less likely, and I can understand from your point of view, and like I really do understand, like you're looking at things of okay, this is very like mystical stuff. We don't see that nowadays. But the thing is, with the creation of the universe, anything is possible when you really think about it that way.
No,
So
not everything is possible.
I'm saying you guys believe, being that you guys are more on the atheist side. I know you guys are agnostic, but
No, we are atheists. We are
okay,
agnostic
so with
atheists.
atheists,
They're
so
two
you
separate
guys, the
positions.
reason why the Christian God is more likely just in general is just because of the basic core facts that there is creation. So because there is
Well, I don't
creation,
believe that.
so you believe, so what do you believe? So you believe that we're just like nano meat robots talking to each other and this was just all
Yeah, kind of.
naturally
I'm an
caused?
existential nihilist, so yeah, all of this is pointless.
So then how can you believe anything you say is true?
Who said I did?
Exactly. So your whole
I'm
argument's
just saying
done
my
because
opinion because it's all subjective, remember?
exactly. So every truth claim you make, it has no grounding. So my point is this:
He
there,
went right to precept. I have no idea
yeah.
how
So
we went from
so
the
because of every
resurrection
truth
to
claim,
hold on. Joel,
sorry,
you went from the resurrection to precept bullshit. You got to pick
I
one. You
know.
can't just
Well,
keep floundering from
no,
one
I
bad argument
know,
to another.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
no, but I
Well,
guess my point was this. No, and the reason I went there, Justin, I don't want to like steer off. I get you, but no, the reason I went there was because we're debating two different reasons why we believe Christianity grew. He's saying it's through mass hysteria, hallucination.
well,
I'm
no, I
saying it
didn't say that's how it was. I'm just saying that am I wrong in saying that that's not a possibility?
100%. Just like
Yeah.
how you
Do
said
you think that
monkeys
that
can
is
go out of your
more
butt.
plausible? A naturalistic explanation is more plausible than an ancient Jewish magic man doing it.
No, because I think of the
Why?
reasons I meant. I think because of the reasons I mentioned of not just 12 people, 12
Who
disciples
cares? I
saying
don't
one,
care. It could be
but
10
over,
million people. 10 million people could also be wrong.
I think that's way less likely than an actual miracle event happening.
No, it's so again, you still think that unnatural stuff is more likely than natural stuff.
Well,
But
I think
I don't understand how you're getting there. You're just saying because why? Because the
it's just
Bible says so, because there's evidence for it, because I don't care that a guy says a thing. I don't care. I need something, there's lots of people saying lots of crazy stuff about gods and what they do and what they
well,
don't do.
yeah, well, it just goes back to what I was saying before, where because of your existing worldview prior to this, you can't really believe in anything that you say. And so because you agree with
What I
that,
didn't know I ever said my worldview. I don't know when that ever came up.
well, no, you told me that
He's
that
gonna
you
say
don't
you can't
you don't
ground knowledge. You can't
you
ground
can't ground
truth.
knowledge, babe,
Here comes the
but
precept.
you
Well, how did we
agree to
get?
that.
How the fuck did we get here again?
He won't just stick with the Jesus. How can we come to the common understanding here? How
Okay,
can we
but we
prove
already
that
have our
Jesus
points.
died and then resurrected? How do we get?
Okay, so the point is, I guess, that you believe that you think there's more likely there was a mass hysteria.
No. Listen. I don't. Let's stop. Not about me. Why do you think that Jesus died, resurrected, and then floated up into heaven?
So number one, I believe that happened because I think the historical documents are I think the
So
documents
a
are
guy said a
preserved,
thing. What's next?
and there was hundreds of people who
Okay, and then
claimed to have
hundreds of
seen him.
other people said
Who?
things too. Okay,
Correct.
what's next?
And
Can you give me a name of any of those people?
the massive growth of the religion.
Well,
Okay,
that
so
didn't
a lot of
happen
people
either.
killed a lot of people for not believing what they believe. That's 3. So what's the next one?
Not in the beginning.
No, pretty much from have you read the
A
Bible?
millennial later, yeah. And that was really just the Crusades, which was Christians versus Islam.
No. Starting with Constantine, they started murdering people. We'll get there next. Go ahead, Calvin.
No, you're good, Justin. If you got something pulled up for us, finally.
Yeah, so this is this book you can find. You can get your own copy. It's called the Biblical Qumran Scrolls. It's by one of the more preeminent scholars on the Dead Sea Scrolls. And what he does is he takes the biblical Qumran scrolls, not all the scrolls from Qumran, just the ones where biblical texts are in existence, and he put together an edition, a critical edition, and then he did a critical apparatus at the bottom of every page. And in the critical apparatus, they show you every place where there are divergencies between the various manuscripts, and they tell you which manuscripts diverge. So what this means is every time you see one of these, I can't highlight it, unfortunately, on the way this app works, but the line 716, the very top part of the apparatus, the very right part, you have this notation. It looks like a Gothic M with an L. Every time you see this Gothic M, that tells you that there's a deviation in the Masoretic tradition with what we find inside of these Dead Sea Scrolls. So the scrolls of Isaiah in no way were anything close to word for word accurate with the Masoretic text that we know and love from, 1,000 years later.
Yeah. Well, that's one source. There's probably 100 times more sources on that, which I'm looking at now.
But what sources
That's
are you referring to? This
so
is not a source telling you what to believe. This is a guy who literally just documented all the differences. That's it.
so
All
we're
he
just
did
talking.
is he went through the manuscripts and said, here's where they are different. And he listed them. That's all he did.
Well, there will be text variants. There might be a comma in one
There's no
and
commas in Hebrew.
a misspelled word here. What I'm saying is,
There's no commas in
if
Hebrew, my
you
man.
if you don't go and search for
I have.
opposite, I'm saying if you don't go and looking into searching for the opposition argument,
I have.
yeah, I know you have. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is most scholarly research will say that it's considered highly accurate and reliable
No,
to
it
what we
won't.
have now.
No,
Yes,
I don't even know what
most
scholar you're
scholars
referring
will.
to. I could just give you like the preeminent Hebrew
It's an
scholar on
easy
textual
Google.
criticism, Emmanuel Tove. I don't need Google search. I got fucking degrees,
What I'm
my
saying,
man.
it's an easy Google search. You can literally just say, according to historical records,
Or
is
you could
the
just
Dead Sea.
literally buy a book on textual criticism where it's documented and charted for you by a scholar in the field.
Yeah, but you're using one book, and I can just find another book
No,
that goes
no, I'm
totally against
not.
that.
Scholarly books aren't made up of one guy's opinion. That's why there's hundreds of footnotes in the book where he references other scholars' works.
And
I
there's
don't
a
think you
whole.
realize, Joel, that Justin went to school for this stuff.
No, I get that. I'm saying you're telling me there's no other scholarly resource or books that are showing how highly accurate it is, like I'm looking at right now
What
on
I'm
any
what
kind of
what
Google
I'm
search,
telling
any.
you, what I'm telling you is Google's not a source. Oh, and the idea of accuracy is a vague notion to begin with. I don't even know what the word accurate means. Are we saying 90% accurate, 80% accurate? What are we saying here is accurate?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, according to Calvin's worldview, there's nothing accurate or true.
It's crazy that you want to
Asshole
die
for
so
no
hard on
reason.
the hill of precept. Listen, I'm more
God, he
than
wants to go to
happy.
precept so bad. He wants to be an asshole in the meantime.
No,
Precept
no,
is
I'm
like the
sorry.
last
No,
ditch effort of a Christian who
I'm
can't justify their worldview. But listen, my
You
point
believe
is,
in ancient magic Jewish dude. I'm sorry, like I don't believe that.
so
well,
I think
I think
Calvin and I'm going to briefly run down so we don't get lost. Calvin and I have the same complaints with everything you just listed. One, the historical documents aren't good. The only documents we have is what's in the Bible, and the Bible's hopelessly flawed and fails all over the place. So I don't think those are trustworthy documents. The eyewitnesses is the same fucking source. It's just whoever you think wrote the gospel stories, but we don't know who those eyewitnesses are, and I wouldn't even call them eyewitnesses because it's clear that they weren't there. And then the 500 witnesses from 1 Corinthians 15, you don't know a single one of them. That's just a guy saying there was 500 witnesses. Who? Where? Can I go question them? Nobody fucking knows. And then the Dead Sea Scrolls, I think we just addressed this. The Dead Sea Scrolls are not really helpful in determining whether or not Jesus resurrected.
I just think the Dead Sea Scrolls is just one source that you pick up, and
Source
I
for
can
what?
easily find it. I'm sorry.
Source for what? All they tell you is that the Hebrew text was being copied and the Greek text was being copied. We agree. We agree that the Old Testament existed. What's that got to do with the resurrection?
Well, I guess my point was to Calvin's question, which was why do I believe in Jesus? And it would be because of the reliability and the preservation of the text throughout the centuries, as well as the fact that disciples were willing to go to their death with no earthly gain, claiming they actually saw him, not claiming
Well, they didn't claim
not
that.
claiming that they think not claiming that they think they saw him or that they believe
again,
another group of people
Show
saw
me
him,
one thing they wrote where they claim that.
where they claim that they saw him.
Show me one text that one of the disciples wrote that claims they saw Jesus resurrect. Listen,
Or that
if
they
I
saw
was
him
one of
after
the
his
12
resurrection.
disciples, yeah, show me that text. If I was the disciple, I would not only write my entire testimony out and everything that I saw, I would have every one of my other fellow disciples do it. Say, you fuckers, you were there, write this down, make sure everybody knows about this. I wouldn't be like, oh, I don't know, maybe 6 decades later, I don't know, maybe we'll just confer our story to somebody possibly who could write. Who knows? We only put our names on it.
That shit would be my personality, man. I would not be able to shut up about it.
Yep.
Well, I think that's exactly why Christianity spread so much. I mean, Matthew writes about it. John writes about it.
We don't even know who wrote those. The first manuscript of
so
Matthew, P1, doesn't have a name on it. Church tradition added the name Matthew later, and the earliest writers that talked about Matthew describe it completely different. They said it was in the Hebrew tongue. Matthew shows no signs of ever being in Hebrew.
And John talks in plural. We have no idea who wrote John.
all of you said Matthew was in Hebrew?
No, I'm saying that the earliest church representatives that talk about the Gospel of Matthew say that it was written in Hebrew and it was a sayings gospel. Neither one of those things are true. Matthew's not a sayings gospel. The Gospel of Thomas might be, but this is not, and it certainly wasn't written in Hebrew.
I mean, that's just something that I would have to do more research on to come back. I can't say yes or no. But what I will say is, you asked for where did one of the disciples mention the resurrection of Jesus? It's in Matthew. It's in John. It's
Matthew,
in Mark.
you'd have to establish that Matthew
Matthew
wrote
20.
Matthew.
Matthew 28.
You would have to establish that Matthew
Oh,
wrote
okay.
Matthew.
I mean, yeah, but we can just do that for everything. We can do that for any historical claim. You can say, oh, you have to establish that Alexander the Great,
because
for example, was a real person.
in the letters between like Pliny and some of Pliny's, governors and whatnot, they have headings from Pliny to so and so. Here's my signature at the bottom, right? We don't have that for the biblical gospels. We don't know who wrote them. We don't know who necessarily they were to, except for Luke. Luke was obviously written to
for John.
Theophilus. But what we don't know
John,
is we absolutely don't know who wrote Matthew.
John does mention himself in the biblical text of the Gospel of John.
Show me that.
And
Because the authors in John 21 identify themselves as a multiplicity, as Calvin already mentioned.
I believe he identifies himself as the one whom Jesus loved, which is John, which is known as John in the Gospels.
The author doesn't say that I'm the one that Jesus loved. The author doesn't say I'm the beloved disciple. That's why people are still arguing today about whether or not it's possibly Lazarus.
The writers are writing from a perspective of other disciples being there, seeing him. So regardless if it's me as somebody who just follows the disciples and writes these things down, or the disciples themselves writing them down, they're speaking from eyewitness testimony.
But
is the point.
That's what we're saying isn't happening. So inside of the Gospel of John, we've got direct testimony from John the Baptist. We've got direct testimony from John the disciple. Or it doesn't list John as the disciple everywhere, but it certainly seems to imply that John is the disciple whom Jesus loved, and that's the disciple that's giving part of the testimony here. Whoever wrote John is collecting testimonies from various people. Two of them possibly were the two different Johns, and that's fine. The problem that you have is that this gospel was written in like the 90s, and John the Baptist was already dead, and John the disciple, we have no idea
Yeah,
what the
well, it would
fuck
be
he was
John.
doing in 90s.
Well,
So
I
the
think
the problem that we have
I
here is
think
that the
that's
Gospel of John is recording a lot of testimony from decades apart, and whoever is putting this together, we don't know who they are or whether or not we should trust them. And the reason why I personally don't trust them is because the Gospel of John contradicts the Synoptic Gospels dozens and dozens and dozens of times, which wouldn't happen if any of these people were real eyewitnesses.
the Gospels; those aren't in the canonized Bible,
Yeah, Matthew,
right?
Mark, and Luke are the Synoptics.
Oh, the other Gospels. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of clear that when it's mentioning John and not John the Baptist, it's obviously not John the Baptist writing it because he's been dead,
No.
according
What I'm
to.
saying is the authors that are putting this together are collecting what they're calling testimonies, and one of those testimonies happens to come from John the Baptist, who had probably been dead for 40 years at that point. John the
Okay.
Baptist died during Jesus' first year of ministry. We're going to put this maybe around the year 30, which is only true for taking the Matthean dating. We're having Jesus born in 4 BCE. If we take Luke's dating, we got to push that 10 years later because Luke has Jesus being born 10 years later, which is crazy if they're all there as eyewitnesses.
When do you think the Gospels were written,
Well, typically
according to your history?
Mark is listed as the earliest. That's just after 70 AD, typically, Mark. If we think Mark actually wrote it, it's probably John Mark, the guy that is the cousin of Barnabas, who did some traveling with the apostles. He's mentioned in Colossians 4 for that relation. John Mark, if he was writing in 70, that means all the other gospels had to come after that because they copied from the Gospel of Mark. That's clear. It's really not debatable, except for John. John's doing his own thing. So Matthew and Luke are writing after 70 AD. They're copying Mark's material, a guy who wasn't even there. And then John comes as the latest, except for the late addition to the Gospel of Mark was obviously added after the Gospel of John came out in order to bring it into agreement with the Gospel of John. But then it actually creates a new contradiction in attempting to fix the old contradiction, which we can go over later.
Yeah. So then is your argument then that not that the Bible has been corrupted or changed, would you say reliability from when it was written is relatively the same to the day to what we have now?
Well, when it comes to the Gospels and the biblical writings, I'm inclined to believe that the form we have it in today is roughly the same as what it would be in the 2nd or even 3rd century. There's a huge gap between the death of Jesus and the appearance of the first manuscripts, and we don't know what form it would have taken. In fact, if you look at the quotations from the church fathers, right, we've got lots of quotations from Origen and some of the earlier church fathers, and those quotations don't really match what's in the Gospels. So we have to ask ourselves, was it still in flux? Were people still, moving things around? And how much was added, right? So is it possible that there was an early Gospel of Matthew that was written in Hebrew and then that got lost and then later another gospel appeared and we're like, oh, we're going to call that Matthew? We don't know. These are all questions nobody can answer. So what I can only tell you is that from the earliest times, like the 3rd and the 4th century, when we get full manuscripts, to today, they seem mostly reliably copied, except that there's a number of additions and corrections. Like in Mark chapter 1, Mark gets the wrong prophet listed. They fixed that in the 5th and 6th century. The Johannine Common in 1 John 5:7 is clearly added like in the 10th century. And like in Corinthians 14, when Paul tells the women to shut up and sit down, that's clearly added. That shows up as a footnote in manuscripts hundreds and hundreds of years later, then eventually find its way into the text. So there's bits and pieces that are obviously changed and moved around over, the centuries. But I would say the bulk of it is probably roughly the same as it was, say, by the end of the 2nd or 3rd century.
Okay. So then with that being said, if if the majority of what was written down and said and thought to be true by these disciples that wrote it down, I mean, I'm sure we can all agree that they believed this stuff happened, regardless if it's
Who?
true or not. Well, the people who were writing it down.
But who wrote them down?
Well, whoever we claim to say that, or whoever we think wrote them down, or whoever did write them down, which I would say would be the disciples, and
But
you
the
would say you
disciples
don't know.
didn't. Mark wasn't. Even if Mark wrote Mark, he's not even a disciple.
Well,
Yeah,
the people
Justin
who
just kind of explained how that couldn't be the case.
I agree. I didn't mean when I say the disciples, I just meant like the people who wrote, the authors is what I meant.
Right.
So the authors of these manuscripts, including Paul later on, of course, we can come to the conclusion that these authors and the people who inspired these authors to write these stories definitely believed that this stuff happened, regardless if you guys believe it was true or not. And that would go against Calvin's point with mythicism, because most of those, most like origin folk tales that are told, like legends, urban legends, are usually told
Right.
much further ahead from when the action takes place.
But Joel,
Legends don't happen 50 years
Calvin's
after.
not arguing for mythicism. We're
No,
talking
I
about
know
the
he's
resurrection.
It's yeah.
Well, I'm just saying in general with what you believe, Calvin, in regards to it being like
But
a
I don't care. We
hysteria.
don't care about what I believe. We're talking to you. We care about what you believe. I already, for the
Well, I'm
sake of this
saying I'm
conversation,
comparing.
granted that Jesus existed, and you pivoting to something else isn't going to save you.
Well, I'm saying with your point of the mass hysteria, it's, I think, seeing the reliability of the text, which Justin just pointed out, of it being solid to its core for the most part. I don't see how there's ever been another scenario of mass hysteria of over 500 people
Oh, there's been a
believing and
bunch.
saying.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot. There's the event where like everyone, I felt like there was some event where like everyone saw the sun like disappear or something. There was like hundreds, or well, I'm not sure how many people were there, but it was a shit ton of people that apparently saw the sun disappear.
I don't know what your guys are referring to, but
Do you know about the dancing plague in 16th century France?
Yeah, it's a good one.
well, how do you guys know that's reliable, that happened?
There's a ton of documentation on it.
Well,
From when it literally happened, people who
Yes.
were literally there watching it happen, saying, "I saw this happen."
Okay, well, I have the same documentation with
No,
the
you don't.
Bible.
No, you don't.
You have a guy said a thing dozens of years after it supposedly happened.
By people we don't know who they are.
Right.
Yeah, but you guys don't have that same evidence for that dancing plague.
Yeah, we
It's
do.
the same thing.
We do. We have firsthand accounts of the dancing
Yeah.
plague.
We have like the people who wrote it down were there.
Yeah.
I believe the same thing for the New Testament documents.
But
I
you
don't
can't
understand
name
what's getting lost here.
you can't name a single person that was actually there writing the text.
Well, when I named John, you went into this whole entire soliloquy of why John can't be the guy.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. If John was there, he should have wrote his own damn gospel, and he didn't, right? You've got a guy decades later claiming that John told him a thing, which is why Calvin said it's somebody who said a thing, right? So John didn't write or leave us anything. We have one group of people. They're a plurality of people at the end of the book that saying, "Hey, John, or this person, the beloved disciple, told us this." Okay, well, that's not really all that helpful. I want to know from first of all, who the fuck are you, and second of all, why didn't John write something for us if
Well, I
this is
think
so
also
important?
too, when you separate 1600 years later, it's just very different in
What's
the
different?
culture and well, just in which things are being written, the amount of people, why things are being written. Like there was more. It was just more of an established thing in the 16th century to have multiple different people writing multiple things down, like
What
right away.
what
So
I'm
if this
saying
happened
is,
20 years after the fact, it was already, they had a mission to go spread the gospel and to go leave their hometown and go spread it rather than put it on a piece of paper
right,
until it was.
but if they were there, they should have left before they died. They should have left written accounts. You could say, "This is my magnum opus before I die and pass away," right? this goes back to actually the prompt. The reason, and this is true for, like, if you go to school, this is what they'll tell you, right? The reason why the Gospels come so much later is because they believe that the world was about to end and Jesus was coming back in their lifetime. There wasn't a need to write this thing down. It wasn't until the disciples started dying that people were like, oh, maybe it's not happening imminently. We should possibly record some shit, right? And so, to me, the fact that we don't have eyewitnesses from the ground at the time that it happened tells me that these people were deeply confused about what they saw, what they claimed to have saw, and what they thought was going to happen next, which just proves, as we said before, this is a failed apocalyptic death cult. They thought the world was ending, it wasn't ending, and then we get records, dozens and dozens of years later, almost a century later, people saying, well, I knew a guy who was possibly there. I can't tell you who, and I won't tell you my name, and here's what I learned. What?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, you guys make a great point, and I'll be honest, I'm not as well equipped to, because I don't do these debates and
Fair
argue
enough.
enough. What I will say, just to like leave it at that, because obviously you guys have made great points, and you guys have definitely made me think a little bit of the reliability of some of this stuff. So I definitely like thank you guys for that and applaud you for that. I guess my thing would be like, these shock moments that these people have when you, if you did happen to see this, right? Like this crazy event that happened, right? Assuming it was real and it actually happened, and you saw this man who was your teacher, who told you all these crazy things, he did all these miracles, and he rose from the dead. It's the exact result of what you would expect to happen after is kind of what happened after. Is like this thing spread like wildfire.
It didn't, though.
They went out into, you saying it didn't spread like wildfire?
No, a very tiny number of Jews actually converted to the faith. It was mostly Greeks and Romans.
Yeah. Well, I think also just them being putting their lives on the line for what they knew to be true,
We
not
don't know
what they
that
believed to
happened.
be true, but what they claim to see with their own eyes, right?
They
Because
didn't
kind
give
of
us any
going
claims. We
back
just
to
went
my
over
point,
this.
well, because you're making the point that they didn't write it, or I'm saying they did.
Right. Well, yeah,
So
but you
it's
haven't
like
demonstrated
we can go
that that's the case.
Yeah, we know that's what you believe. It's just not true.
Right. So, like, for example, if John
well,
was
even if I'm
there,
going,
if John was there and John gave his testimony, why does John contradict the synoptics at every turn? He gets Jesus' last words wrong. He gets his time of a crucifixion wrong. Gets the number of days prior to the crucifixion wrong about when he was perfumed with the nard. He gets the
I think
temple
that shows
clearing.
I think that shows even more of the reliability of it, and I'll tell you
No,
why.
it
Because when you
shows that they weren't there.
no, I think it shows. I think the different details show more of the reliability of it for a couple reasons. Number one,
No,
because it
no,
shows that this is coming from different
Joel, it's not
eyewitnesses, so
different
the people
details,
have
they're
different perspectives.
contradictions. Like, if Calvin and I, let's imagine Calvin and I, somebody asks us, a month from now, hey, how did your guys' live stream go? We're probably going to provide some different details, but they won't contradict. Calvin's not going to say a detail that directly contradicts one of my details because we were both there. But the
What's a
Gospels,
contradiction? What's a contradiction though?
a
Because
contradiction
they're
are
really just
two statements
no.
where both of
I'm
them can't
saying
be true.
I know what a contradiction is. I'm saying what is a contradiction in the gospel that you're stating, because they're really just difference in details. They're not really contradictions when you
What
really
time did
read.
Jesus die?
No.
What day and time did Jesus die?
Well, pull it up. You guys are the ones saying there's a contradiction.
Yeah,
Pull
we
up
got
the
it
two
for you.
scriptures that contradict each other.
Yep, not a problem. So we're going to go Mark 15 and John 19. This is one of my favorites, although it doesn't get brought up nearly enough. In Mark 15:25, it says it was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. So he was already up on that cross having a bad time by lunchtime. And then in John 19, it says, when Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus outside and sat on the judge's bench at a place called the Stone Pavement, or in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now it was the day of preparation for the Passover, and it was about noon. And he said to the Jews, here is your king. So about noon in the Gospel of John, Jesus is literally still on trial. But in the other Gospel, he's already crucified by 9 in the morning.
Well, yeah, I have no idea.
But like,
I
if
guess it's a contradiction, but to like the slightest form. It's like the time of the day. It's really not
it doesn't
even.
matter if it's slight. If these are written by eyewitnesses, they shouldn't be confused. But did he get killed at breakfast or after lunch?
No, I agree. It's a great point. It's a great point. I'm not gonna be. One of those like delusional people and claim like 9 o'clock and 12 are the same. You
Do
know.
And
you
there's a
agree it's a
bunch.
So
contradiction?
I agree that 9 in the morning and 12 is a contradiction for sure.
There we go. Well, I'll do one more, and Calvin might have another too. But one of my favorites is even the birth. Like, when was Jesus born? Luke has Jesus born during the census of Quirinius in chapter 2, and Matthew chapter 2 has him born before the death of Herod the Great. He died in 4 BCE. So was he born in 4 BCE, or was he born 10 years later during the census of Quirinius?
Yeah, I have no idea.
But if these were eyewitness accounts, we shouldn't have a 10-year gap in when he was born. They should at least be like within a couple months or a couple years
Well,
of each other.
I think clearly the eyewitness account of the birth. I don't think any of his disciples were there when he was born. So that's more historic. That's more of like historical data that can be interpreted wrong
But
because none of the disciples were. Nobody would claim that the disciples were there when he was born.
did Jesus not tell them what, like, if he was born prior to the death of Herod, or what?
I
Why'd
mean,
they
he
get it
probably
wrong?
did. I don't know, but I
Well,
guess my point is there are
because
many. I
to
hmm?
me, why it's wrong is not all that important. Like, at least you're apologetic as to why it's wrong. In my worldview, it's obviously wrong because they weren't there, they weren't eyewitnesses, and this book isn't inspired by God. If it was inspired by God, it wouldn't make these huge blunders.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point, and I just think back to my point. The reason why I believe Jesus is who he said he was is not merely because of the minuscule details of the time he died that it was written by one guy in a different time. Like these minuscule details, even though I can't see how it can play into effect when you say a manuscript is inspired by God, you would kind of like turn an eye and be like, hey, why are these different? But the overall overwhelming detail of number one, them claiming that the woman saw the tomb empty, that's a
Why?
huge detail.
Why is that a problem?
That was gonna be what I bring up is who was the first at the tomb.
Yeah, so in most of the manuscripts, I believe it says that the women were, that Mary Magdalene wasn't. I think that's actually a good piece of evidence to show why the writers, what they were saying were true. And the reason being is because a woman's testimony back in the day was considered nothing.
But that's
So if
meaningless.
you're
His
gonna make if
resurrection never hung on the testimony of the women. That's why the disciples went to verify it. So, women being at the tomb was the
well,
thing
what
that
I'm
was
saying,
most expected because women were in charge of spicing the body typically. The story wouldn't make any sense if the
well,
men
of
went to the
course,
tomb first.
well, what I'm saying is the woman being at the tomb and the manuscripts claiming that the woman saw the tomb empty first rather than a man.
Why
The
is that a
woman's
problem?
claim meant nothing back in the day. Well,
That's
I'm
not
saying because the
true.
woman's
Like,
claim back in the day.
well, that's not true. They even gave
No, well,
testimony in court.
back in that time,
Well, then
a
you've
woman's
obviously never read
eyewitness
any
testimony.
classical literature. Cicero literally does entire stories about women give a testimony in court.
Yeah, but back in that time, it's almost known, especially in the Hebrew context, that a woman's eye testimony didn't hold up in court. Not
But
in the
they're
Hebrew
not in
first
court.
century.
They're not going to court.
I'm just saying in general, like if you hear something from a woman in Hebrew first century, it was like if you were gonna make up a story, you're not gonna say that the woman saw
Yes,
this.
you
No,
would,
you're gonna say,
because
hey,
the
we
women have
saw
to
it.
be there first. If Jesus rose before morning, the women would be the first to see it happen, because they were the ones going to spice the body, and they couldn't do it earlier because it was the Sabbath. You can't do that kind of work on the Sabbath. So yes, in the story that they laid down, the only thing that makes sense is that the women would have seen the empty tomb first, because it wouldn't make any sense for the men to go there prior to the women.
Okay.
And to be
And then
fair,
Calvin, he
I
said there
think
was a contradiction.
yeah, Calvin brought up a contradiction. I think it's valuable to go into it.
I don't even remember what I brought up. Was it
Oh,
who's at the
You said it
tomb?
was the women.
yeah,
Yeah, the
who got
women in
there
the tomb. There
first?
was a contradiction.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, was it Mary Magdalene? Was it the two Marys? Was an angel there? Like who was there? And why do you believe that?
Well, I just think, like I said, I think it shows the reason why you guys think it shows unreliability is actually the reason why I think it shows reliability,
what are you
and the
talking
reason why
about?
I would say it shows the details that are different, not the contradictions like you mentioned, the 9 o'clock and the 12 o'clock. I can agree; those are two different times, but some of the details that are different in one gospel and then the other,
But we're
showing
not
like
talking
Mary's there
about
first, and then they saw.
we're not talking about corroborating detail. We're talking about contradictory detail. The corroborating detail is meaningless to us right here. We want to know
Well, you
why
pointed
there's
out you
direct
pointed out the 9
contradictions.
o'clock. Well, yeah, you pointed out the 9 o'clock and the 12 o'clock. I don't know what Calvin pointed out. He just said
Well,
Mary and then an angel. He
I
didn't
know
point
what
out like the
Calvin's
specific
talking
verses.
about. Sorry, we could have been specific. If you go to John 20 and go to Mark chapter 15, or probably 16, what we have is Mary Magdalene getting there first by herself. It says early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene, meaning it was still dark, sun hadn't come up yet, right? Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved and said to them, they so on and so forth. Okay, so the way it's set up in John is pretty easy. And then you go to Mark chapter, I think it's chapter going to be chapter 16. It shows something different, right? It says, when the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, so after the sunrise, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance of the tomb?" Well, this doesn't make sense. If Mary Magdalene had already been there and she already knew that Jesus wasn't there, one, she wouldn't be going to spice the body. Two, they wouldn't be having a discussion about who's going to roll away the stone. She already knew that the stone was rolled away. So nothing in this story makes sense if Mary Magdalene went to the tomb first, prior to the whole gaggle of girls. And you can't just combine them because whoever did the late addition to Mark screwed up so royally bad that he made it impossible to conflate these two stories into one. So in the late or the long ending of the Gospel of Mark, they added this note to try to bring it into alignment with John, but it didn't work. It says, now, after he rose early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. So she went out and told those who had been with him while they were mourning and weeping, which is exactly what John says. But that can't make sense because then her second trip to the tomb is a farce. It's nonsensical.
That makes sense. I see what you're saying there. Yeah, look, I'll be honest, you guys bring up great points, and it's something that I have to look more into myself as well. Just like how you guys have clearly done your research. I need to look into it more.
Yeah, let me ask you a question,
But
Joel.
yeah, I
How
mean
old are you?
I'm 26.
26. Well, I've had the luxury of being around for a couple more years and getting to look into this stuff. There's nothing wrong with not knowing stuff. We would just encourage you to spend a lot of time reading the book and go in when I was a young Christian, I had someone challenge me once and they said, rather than assuming the Bible is true and he was an atheist, making me tell you why it's
Yeah.
not true, he says, just assume that it's not true and read it from the beginning and ask yourself, can you prove any of this stuff to be true? You're starting at the same basis as every other holy book. Like if I read the Quran, I'm not going to assume the Quran is true, right? So read the Bible from the front to the back with the thought in your head, can I prove any of this to be true? And I think your Bible reading experience will be a little bit different.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, come at it with I mean, I grew up in a Christian household, so obviously there's a bias. And
Right.
so yeah, I mean, look, I definitely do appreciate you guys going, taking the time and like explaining to me you guys' worldviews. Although I don't agree with everything you guys said, particularly like on the non-Christian side, more so just like, whatever, like how the creation of the world, but I do believe there is a God. But and I am a Christian, but you know, you guys definitely have challenged some good things. You guys have made great things. So I really, I do appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me. Really,
All right, thanks for coming by, Joel.
Yeah, appreciate it.
thanks, guys.
Well, I tell you what, it's hard to be, 20 something and really getting your religion tweaked. But you know what? He did do a couple, we'll call them concessions. When he
Yeah.
was shown the problem, some of the problems he was able to compute. So
Yeah,
that's
he
good.
he did, own up to a couple things. So, I do appreciate that.
Well, friends, I'm going to read a couple super chats, and then we're going to get our next guest in here. As far as I can tell, the way they came in is going to be Kirsten, and then Kent, and then Tophus. We'll get you in a minute, my friend. Chip, thank you so much for the super chat. Also, while I'm reading super chats, go to the title of this video, click on Calvin's profile, and drop him a follow. Then go on TikTok and find, if you're watching on TikTok, he's down here in the corner. Go on TikTok, click on the profile, drop him a follow, and then follow him on Facebook and Instagram as well. Chip says, I love when Christians make up theology on the spot to explain verses they've never read before. Pretzeling commends, rock on for dog, and simply what for sure. It is my favorite thing when you know they haven't read it, and rather than sitting down and say, okay, just let me think about this for a minute, they immediately try to put the Band-Aid on it, and they don't realize
They
that
got
they're
the
Band-Aid.
apologetics on lock. It's like a trigger.
Yeah, it's like almost an involuntary reaction is to not be honest.
It's a defense. They're scared to actually think about it.
That's the case. They're actually, it's fearful to even consider it. Cyber deconstruction, good to see you, my friend. And holy shit, Cyber's been a member now for over 12 months. Thank you, my friend. Says if this guest ate any more we would need to check if his feet were cloven. a good
That's
cud
funny.
joke in there. Cyber and Justin only feet. Actually, Cyber, you might be interested to know, I did start a super secret society Illuminati style Discord server for literally only super fans. That's now in my link tree, and we have an only feet section in there. But keep in mind, this is literally only for super fans who want to join our secret society. This is not for people who are deconstructing. We will eat you alive if you come in here doing apologetics. But post some foot pics for us, buddy. And Caroline, thank you for the super chat. Says, I finished the book of Judges today. Oh, that's a read.
Yep.
It's so historically interesting. I just wonder how many Christians can come to the conclusion that God is good after reading the first 3 chapters. It's tough.
It is a tough one.
I would say, though, to me, the Judges, while it is a bloody book, is one of the more interesting books. And if you really are intrigued by Canaanite culture, I think you'll find a lot of parallels in Canaanite mythology in that book. So it's definitely a neat read. And Holofurphy's in the house tonight. Thank you, Holofurphy, for sending 20 DZ Debate gifted memberships. Totally appreciate that. And Winsta, thank you for sending out 10 DZ Debate gifted memberships. Yahweh got my tongue, apparently.
15.
Dylan, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says Joel must have smiled when he heard Psalm 137, 8 through 9. Yikes. Gotta watch out for these baby pasters. Rock hard for Doug. You know what? That first guest, and even the second guest for a moment, I thought, oh, we're gonna get some baby paste tonight.
Yep, you could have went the baby paste.
It just we didn't get around to that famous moment. But Elvis Presley touched me. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the $50 super chat. It says, I love the leg-breaking fact about Roman crucifixions when Christians talk about Jesus being the greatest sacrifice. Motherfucker couldn't even last as long on the cross as every other person crucified. Give me scaphism or brazen bull for the greatest sacrifice. True. And here's the other thing. You've probably seen this, Calvin. You know, in the Philippines, every year they do this Easter ritual where they literally crucify humans, like nails and oh shit,
wild stuff.
Doesn't seem all that special now, does it? Susie, my friend, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says thanks just for having Calvin, the sous chef, with you tonight. I'm glad to have him. So nice to have yet another atheist channel to follow and hear great debates with atheists. Calvin, what days and times are you on YouTube?
Oh, great question, actually. So I don't have any solid time, date and time every week. I am guaranteed to be live at least once a week. Um, but right now it's kind of spotty because I'm in between jobs right now. I started my new job and stuff, so I'm still trying to get my like schedule worked out. It's kind of looking like Tuesdays might be my day to stream. I am only streaming on TikTok exclusively right now, just because of my electronic capabilities. I can't get a fancy computer to be able to stream on multiple platforms quite yet. But yeah, I'm on TikTok once a week and I post those the whole stream beginning to end. I post on YouTube directly afterwards so you can still watch it and listen to it and everything. Yeah, probably Tuesdays. I'm trying to go live twice a week, do one debate live, and then I do Ask an Atheist where I take a big sign. I go out into the busiest street corner in my town, which is pretty busy town in Southeast Michigan. And I just stand there with a sign that says "Ask an Atheist," and I live stream the whole time. One for my safety, and two for content. So I do live stream the whole time. So I'm trying to go live twice a week, so I can do one of each once a week. So yeah, just follow me, keep in touch.
Great question, Susie. I've got exactly 3 more super chats, and we're going to get Kristen in here. HP Lovecats, good to see it tonight, says bringing up Alexander the Great when asked about Jesus is nothing but a huge whataboutism. Actually, that is the case. I would say it's not a good whataboutism. I think there might be some better whataboutisms because we actually have a lot of evidence for Alexander. Like,
Yeah, it's like infuriating. People are like, "Oh, why do you believe that Genghis Khan or Julius Caesar, Alexander?" It's like, stay on topic, man. I didn't spend all this time researching whether they existed or not. Like, I don't
right.
I don't care about them. Like, if you ask me for evidence for Julius Caesar, I don't have it right now. I have it for Jesus because that's kind of what I'm looking into. Like, I feel like it's a lot more important as to whether this guy who claims to be God, and very well, I guess, could technically be a god. I mean, I think it's pretty important to discuss whether he existed rather than talk about some guy who, was some warlord or something. I'm not worried about them.
Yeah. And 2 more super chats. Godwin, good to see you tonight, my friend. Thank you for the super chat. Says Joel hasn't seen with his own eyes, yet he believes. How then is he so incredulous to the idea the writers living nearer in the time to the occurrence could believe that something that didn't actually happen? Let me make sure I understand it. Joel hasn't seen with his own eyes, yet he believes. How then is he so incredulous to the idea that the writers living nearer to the time of the occurrence could believe something? Oh, it's true. Okay, so he believes something that's false and he lives 2,000 years later, meaning somebody living closer to the time period would have even more reason to believe in the lie because they lived closer to that
Okay,
time
I
period.
get it. I was struggling to understand the verbiage there.
That makes sense, though. I see what you're, it's a good point there, Godwin. Yeah,
It is.
if people today believe it, why wouldn't we expect people back then to believe it, even if it was false, right? And last super chat for now from our friend Chaos Engine. Good to see you, friend. Hope you're doing well, says Justin. I've actually figured out the crucifixion contradiction. The reason Jesus was crucified at 9 and still in court at noon is because he was being cross-examined. Okay. All right. I see what you did there, Chaos. All right. Appreciate that, friend. All right, let's get Kristen in here, and then we'll keep the conversations rolling. Oh, Kristen dropped. Maybe I guess they didn't want to talk. Okay, well, I guess we're going to bring in Kent then from the YouTube queue. Welcome in, Kent. Are you at least 18? Kent, I'm concerned that your setup isn't quite right when you joined the room because for some reason your camera is just the web browser of our live stream, and I'm reluctant to believe that you've got like 5 microphones plugged in. Do you have the right one selected? Have you ever used Video Ninja before? I'm just going to refresh your microphone and hope it grabs the right one. And your headphone output looks to be just a Realtek audio output device. Is that really what you wanted, or did you want to use like a headset? You've got speakers hooked up, the Captain 300. Is that what you want to use for speakers? I'll just request it, see what happens. How's that? Does anything work for you? I don't think his setup works. I don't have to tell you, buddy. Sorry, you gotta reload the thing, and coming back, we'll try to get you up. All right. Well, I said we'd get Tophis up in here, and he's been waiting. Welcome back.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm still sick from last time we spoke.
Oh no. Was your head better at least?
Yeah, at least my head doesn't hurt. Yeah, but I didn't come to speak like we usually do because I did something I was struggling about Matthew 16, not because of how you phrased it, because according to my language, it's impossible to get the understanding. So I had to go and do a lot more digging to actually see why that's the case. And I realized the problem is not "and" the way you phrased it. The problem is coming. In Greek, coming is used both as come and go. We don't have a word like we have in modern Greek, pigeno. In old Greek, we have other things that don't actually mean going from one place to the other like you do in English, which is I'm going, using the word going. But in the old text in ancient Greek, we use come for both.
Yeah, Tophis, we talked about this the first time we talked, and I showed you in the text of Matthew. Matthew uses a different word for going.
Yeah, but that's not the same meaning. I mean, if I give you all the ancient Greek text that speaks about going, you have let me go and pull this up. You got, for example,
He's gonna
porevome. You
die
got
on this hill. He's gonna die, and we've talked about this 3 times now. How many times do we want to go over
I
this?
know, I
You'll
know, I
never
know.
win.
It's not about win. I don't care about win. You think I'm here to win? That's the funny thing. No, yeah, I really enjoyed
He
talking
just
with you.
wants you to say that he's right.
No,
Justin.
no, 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 no. I don't want him to say anything. I'm just speaking with him, and I just want to hear his opinion, regardless of whether he agrees with me or
But
not.
why does he have to explain it 3 times though? What are you not understanding? Like, granted, I don't
Because
really know what you guys are talking about right now because
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
this
yeah.
conversation's been
Because
happening for a while. But like, what
uh,
what is not what's not getting through to you?
let me tell you this. Okay, when you read the text in the Matthew 16, it says "and" is used more as "in," but "with" as a translation is more of an inference than actually being used actually as "with." Because if you go and read a little bit behind, you see both are used, but the meaning is not the same. The focus is of the word "and" in the Greek text means mostly "in" and less meaning "and," meaning "with."
But
The "with" is an
Tophis,
inference.
I'm not going to reiterate everything I told you during our first
No, no, no.
conversation. Do you want to talk about something else, or do you just want to go back and listen to that first one?
No, 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 it's fine. If you don't want to speak about it, it's fine. There is another thing I wanted to speak with you
Mm-hmm.
because technically we're in the same group, even though you might not realize it. I want to ask you this. Let's say, hypothetically talking, if Christianity was true, right? And they had the truth. I'm not talking about the text. I'm talking about the understanding of the book. Okay, so if they had the truth, how would the number of the Gentiles be complete? Since everyone keeps getting born, meaning it keeps an endless cycle, meaning people are born, coming to the truth, and that keeps happening forever. How can you complete something that keeps actually increases the numbers indefinitely?
What do you mean by complete?
Yeah, I don't understand
I
what's
mean,
being asked.
in Romans 11, it speaks before like God goes, like before Jesus like goes to the Israel to Jacob. It speaks about the number of the Gentiles being complete.
Mm-hmm.
Are you not familiar with it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that means before he goes to Israel, the Gentiles numbers are complete. But in order for them to complete, how can you say something is complete when you have people being born and keep increasing the scale?
Yeah, so the problem that you're going to have here is like in the eschatological framework of Paul and the rest of the New Testament, there's this idea of like why didn't Jesus come back yet? Because they were expecting him so soon. And the excuse was given is because we don't have the complete number of the Gentiles in yet, as though there's a number that they're waiting for. But their view wasn't that like they're going to continue doing this forever. Remember, Paul told them to stop having kids, that the end of the world was imminent. And in fact, he says the present form of the world is currently passing away, so or about to be passing away. So like I understand like this weird verbal argument you're trying to say is how can you have the full number of Gentiles if Gentiles keep having more kids? it's just kind of a nonsense, like it's not really related.
But my focus is this. There is a verse that speaks about God is patient because everyone wants to repent and come to Him. I mean, if people are getting born, do those new babies, once they grow up, don't they need to learn the truth and repent and come to Him? And what I'm saying is, if the number of Gentiles is complete, what makes it complete to begin with?
Numerical. It's a numerical completion. The fullness of the Gentiles. I mean, we need more.
Yeah, but how can you say it's now or it's then, or what makes it complete?
A number. It's a number. I thought that was pretty clear.
I think I'm not get that's what I'm not getting it. Can you elaborate on that or help me understand it a little bit better what you mean?
Yeah, a number is like an amount. Like we need a certain amount. Like if I said, our church is going to continue to grow until it's at fullness or capacity. It's an amount.
Yeah, but the amount is what from God's perspective, how many He wants,
Well,
or how many we are available to Him.
He didn't give us the number.
He didn't give us the number, but that's my argument.
That's
If
not
the
a good
number
one.
is not, if the number is not given, how can you say it's a specific number? I mean, when you keep having people coming to repentance.
Because he has a number. Just because we don't know whatever his goal is in like numerical performance doesn't mean he doesn't have a goal of some nature.
But if he has a number,
And like
you're making it
it's
sound
weird that
like,
I just don't understand where you keep getting these bad arguments from. Like these are like really, even when I was a Christian, I would have been like, this is a bad argument because like the bulk of like New Testament studies will just demonstrate that they expected the world would end soon, but it's not going to end until there's a fullness accomplished.
that wasn't my focus. That wasn't my focus. I will tell you what is in my mind, and then I want to hear your opinion. That's all I want. I was thinking, what if actually, I want to explain first you about. I want to give you an example to understand what I mean when I speak about the Gentiles, because there is a perfect example in the Old Testament.
It's interesting. In the NRSV, it literally just says, I want you to understand this mystery, brothers and sisters, so that you may not claim to be wiser than you are. A hardening has come upon parts of Israel until the full number of the Gentiles has come in.
Yeah. I wanna make a point about Israel as a reflection to what I'm about to explain to you, because I really want you to understand me, and I don't want a language barrier to be not my expression being bad and not getting not getting my point. You know that it's when Jesus was still around, he said to I mean, he was killed, and the Israelites rejected Christ, and there is a point to make, like they had the prophets, they had the text, they had all these things, and yet Christ came and didn't see it, and they didn't recognize him. I mean, they didn't say it was the Messiah, and they killed him for it. And I'm saying, the truth, it was in their hands, and when Jesus was revealed, they rejected him. So when the truth was revealed to him in the flesh, they rejected the truth that it was written that it would come. And I'm like, why not have the same case happen in the Gentiles? Meaning, um what if, even though the text is what it is, but Christianity got it wrong from the beginning? So even though people are maybe saved according to what they believe, regardless of how accurate it is, because the focus is having a relationship with God and being with God in order to be saved, not like whether you do an act. I mean, being a good person, stuff like that. It's based on whether you want to have a relationship with Him or not. And I'm like, what if the truth it was wrong from the beginning?
Wait, what's the
reason
question? I'm getting lost here.
I'm getting
I'm
there.
getting lost. I don't know what's
I have
going
no
on.
idea what you're talking
Straight
about.
up and cut.
Yeah, I know it's really hard for me. Believe me. I'm saying is, what if the truth of Christianity was wrong to begin with? That's why you have so many contradictions, because it's not that the text doesn't do a good explanation on certain things. Because I know you have some details on certain things that, yeah, I get it, but they are not wrong only in the detail. They are wrong in the bigger picture. What I'm saying is, what if they have it wrong from the beginning? And even though people are saved based on what they know, there will be a time where the full truth is going to be revealed and be rejected. And once truth truly dies, is when the second coming will come. Because in order for the number to be complete, you need to have the truth completely dead, so you cannot no longer increase the numbers.
I don't think
That's the
that
thought I have.
follows. No, if you're just looking for a number, it doesn't matter if the pool keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, but if that's the case, then that means if once the number is filled, then all the rest of them, they can no longer come to Christ even if they wanted to. That makes
Yeah.
no sense.
No, it does make sense. God predestines a lot of people to hell. Romans chapter 9.
I don't know. It was just a thought I wanted to share with you. I mean,
Fair enough.
yeah,
It's an interesting
Yeah.
one though.
yeah. And I just like was thinking about it. I wanted to ask you that yesterday on the Q&A. I came early thinking you would put me in, and then you say, I need to speak to new people, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll come tomorrow. Even though I know
We had
you
like
do
30
debates and
people
stuff.
in the waiting room, so and it's like I'm not gonna get to everybody.
Yeah, I know. But I was like, okay, I'll come tomorrow because I didn't technically prepare something to speak today. I just wanted to do the Matthew 16, which I get it. We spoke about it multiple times anyway. And then it was this idea that I was just thinking about the Romans 11 and the numbers being complete.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. I mean,
All right.
just that.
Well,
I hope
I'm
that
sure
I just don't
I'm sure we'll
disappoint
talk
you.
again soon, buddy.
Yeah, we can speak again.
All right, take care of yourself, Tophas.
Yeah. Take care of you as well. Yep.
I'm shocked that he still wants to. He wants to go over the Greek rendering inside of Matthew 16, 27, 28. We already went through the whole thing twice. I'm not going to do it again.
Okay. Yeah. It's like, I obviously, like I know of, Matthew 16, everything. I just like the whole Greek thing. Like, I don't know Greek, so I'm like, I have nothing really to contribute to this particular conversation,
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
But I didn't really know what was going on, but I mean, yeah, I get that it's frustrating. Like if he's already called in 3 or 4 times to talk about the exact same talking point, like it gets frustrating having to just like repeat your exact same argument all the time. I get it.
Yeah, to be fair, it's boring for the audience too. The audience doesn't want to get bogged down in the semantics of classical Greek. But Kent did come back. We'll see if Kent stuff is working. And also, I agree. Warship says Jesus is coming on the cumulus clouds. Capital C-U-M. Fantastic. And Dexter, good to see you, says you're a surgical listener, Jay, and it's why this works so good. Well, thank you, Dexter. I would say this: if you look at like really good debaters, the thing that they do well, and sometimes I need to practice myself, the thing that they do really well is, one, they plan out their argument in advance, but two, they listen to what the other person's saying so that you can debunk the other person's position. That's really key in debating, is not just build a case for yourself, but to demonstrate why the other person's view doesn't work. And some people get by only doing that. Like if you just watch like an Andrew Wilson debate, he won't even have an opening. He won't even make a case. He'll just bypass the opening and go straight into the, the rebuttal phase, because his goal isn't to prove his position. His goal is to prove your position wrong. And so it's important to be able to listen to what the other person's saying, not just wait to respond. Furtive Patak says, for a people who ostensibly worship the logos, they sure hate words. That's good. That's good, Patak. That's really good. I'm going to get 2 more super chats so we don't get too backed up. We got a bunch of super chats left over still. Jordan Peterson's colon, I'm sorry to hear your predicament, says, I haven't had a carb in 4 years, but I sure can relate to Christians spewing all that shit. Not on the regular, though. Hail Doug.
The username's killing me.
That's crazy. We got some of the best usernames out here. Bacon and Bunch says, how exactly does God cause it by allowing it to happen? Make anything better? He didn't cause it aside from the way he caused it. And this is a fair point. I don't say this enough, but I know a lot of people in the audience say it like midstream. Was, listen, God allowing something to happen doesn't make it better, because like if there was like, if I was mad at my son and like I saw somebody coming on a skateboard like armed to the teeth, and I was like, I just let him come and wipe out my child with whatever weapons he's got on him and smash him with a skateboard. Listen, I allowed it. Like it's a bull. Like I'm a horrible individual. Like if you want to punish somebody, whatever you allow as the punishment still has to fit the crime somehow. You can't just
If you have the ability to stop it and you don't, then I mean that's on the same level of just doing it yourself.
yeah. All right, let's get Kent up in here. We'll try Kent again, and then we'll get Captain Cook from the TikTok queue after that. All right, Kent, attempt number 2. Let's see if the hardware is working. Kent.
Uh-oh.
Kent. Yeah, Kent doesn't know how this works. Okay, sorry, Kent. We gotta move on though. All right, try downloading TikTok if you can't figure out how to use a computer. Okay. All right, let's get Captain Cook in here.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, welcome in, Captain Cook. Are you at least 18?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. And do you believe in the Christian God?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Okay. The claim tonight is kind of a 4-piece claim, which is essentially that Christianity is a failed apocalyptic blood magic death cult. And what I mean by failed is not that it's not popular. I realize that's the first thing you're going to say. I'm not saying it's not popular. What I'm saying is the objective of the religion failed. The objective of the religion was that Jesus was an apocalyptic leader ushering in the end times, and made lots of promises to that end that all failed. You probably disagree with everything up here, so where do you want to start?
Yeah, I disagree that Christianity has failed because I believe it's true that Jesus does exist and Jesus was God. It's kind of the core belief of Christianity.
Sure.
But
Why
why
would
do you-
we? Yeah, exactly.
Why do I believe that Jesus is God?
Yeah.
Sure.
John 1.
Because the Bible told me so.
Yeah, I believe everything in the Bible is God's word.
Why should we believe that? Why do we care what the Bible says?
Well, I mean, there's nothing I can really say. I think a lot of it's based on personal experiences.
Oh, well, I mean, Calvin and I have some personal experiences that would indicate that God doesn't exist. So, is that valid?
You might also have some that indicate that he does, right?
Well, I don't know.
No.
Like the angel Beth?
Oh, you're the guy. No, that's not relevant, and no, it's not my experience. Why do you keep? First of all, why do we keep bringing
Wait,
up my
how is-
fucking?
How
Why
is that
do you
not
keep
evident?
sneaking into my live streams, bringing up something that you heard from somebody who once talked to my fucking mother? My mother's not here to talk about her spiritual experience. I
know who this guy is from listening to your live streams. What a weirdo.
Yeah, this fucking weirdo keeps coming to my live stream trying to talk about a story that apparently he heard at some point from my goddamn mother. I don't even know how he heard it. It's not related to me, asswipe. Do you want to actually address the topic, or do you want to talk about... Oh, no, he wants to run. Okay.
Well,
Well, I
no,
guess-
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Well, not anymore. All right. Cole's here, though. Well, kind of. Cole, are you connected?
Hello, how's it going?
I don't
I'm
know.
connected.
Cole, I don't know why, but it's not... Oh, it is showing...
not
Oh,
hear me?
fuck. I accidentally disconnected Calvin. That's what happened. Sorry, Calvin. Can you request back up?
Yeah, I will.
I was like, why is the box gray? Oh, because I got the wrong number of people in here.
That's fine.
That's on me.
As soon as I
All right, while we're getting that configured, friends, if you're watching on TikTok, now's a good time to get in. We finally got through some of the TikTok guests, and there's openings. So hit that guest request. You'll get to the front of the line. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, you can use the link on the screen, which is tiny.cc/DZ live. And right now, it actually turns out that the YouTube queue, we had one guest in there still named Bill, and Bill dropped for some reason when we took that.
Sorry, I'm
last
having
guest.
some technical difficulties that I'm still sorting out.
No, you're okay. I just had to mute you there for a second. All right. So, anyways, that leaves us with Cole. Cole is on deck here. I just got to adjust the view so you can see Cole. Cole's been up here to talk a number of times with us, haven't you, Cole?
Yeah, I've talked to you before.
Yeah. Cole, do you remember what we talked about last time?
I think we were talking about whether or not God exists. The last time I was up here, I think yours was God is fiction, if I remember correctly.
That's right. We discovered that you're not a real Christian and that you're a pantheist pretending to be a Christian. So my next question is, what are you doing up here?
But I mean, I believe Jesus is God, and I believe He rose from the dead.
You
I'm a
also
full
believe I'm
preterist.
God, so it's meaningless.
Well, I wouldn't actually be like we talked about this. I wouldn't be a pantheist because I think God is everything, but also greater
Gotcha.
than every.
Right, so you're not a Christian. I'll just remove you now. All right. We do want real Christians up here tonight, friends. We're not doing any pantheist bullshit. We want to talk to actual Christians, not to people who think that like I'm God and you're God and Calvin's butthole's God. We want to talk to people who believe in real. Also, I had that conversation once with somebody about whether or not my
Like, I'm
butthole's
sorry,
God.
what?
Peggy's God though for sure. That's a adult and inside joke. But now's a good time to request up, friends. I'm going to read a couple super chats while we're waiting for the guests to load up. Please don't request up if you believe in Allah or if you believe in any other weird, deistic concept. Only request up if you believe in the Christian God or some variant of the Christian God that's like somehow compatible with Christianity. And we'll talk about the prompt. And if while we're reading super chats, if you have a question for Calvin, now's a good time to do it. Chance, good to see you, my friend, says the fourth omni is all allowing. That would be the case, actually. True.
That's
He
funny.
does.
I like that.
Well, if you're the creator of all things and you're all powerful and you're all knowing, wouldn't that also mean that anything that happens, you've technically allowed it to happen?
Yeah. It kind of
So,
that's how it falls in line. I mean, yeah.
what would we call that? It'd be omni. No, there's got to be a better word for this. The omnis are typically listed in Greek or Latin. Hold on, I think it's Greek, right? I'm gonna Google this one. Is omniscience Greek or Latin? Of course, it's taking time. Comes from the Latin. Okay, so omniscience means all knowing or all knowledge in Latin. So what is the Latin word for allowing? Let's see what we come up with. So we could do like, let's see. Actually, we have people in the audience who speak Latin, by the way. Looks like there's a couple different words, but it looks like the word we probably want is going to be permitter, which is where we get the word permit, obviously. So it'd be
yeah.
omnipermitter would possibly how. Okay, it's interesting. Okay, we learned something tonight, friends. And Go Hibble says the callers today are going to need a chiropractor after this live because fucking bend over backwards. Sean says, have to say, there have been some good guests tonight. Still crazy people, but able to at least hold a convo without interrupting or crashing out. That's true. I thought the guests that we've had so far were palatable.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I like myself a good crash out. It's hilarious, but we've we've had some good talking points today.
The crash outs do clip very, very well. I wonder, like, if you call into one of these shows and you do a total crash out, like, they have to know that they're gonna get clipped and reposted, right? They know that, don't they?
They have to know, because I mean, sorry if you've ever been on my live and you've ever crashed out, you are posted.
Yeah,
I post every crash out.
Peace Loving Cake says we finally find an original manuscript only to discover the disciples said Jesus was hung like a cross after seeing him erect. Damn telephone game. Jesus was absolutely hung. That's why he needed help to carry his wood, y'all. That's the real burden. That's the real cross to bear, walking around with that snake in your pants or robe. 49 Perfect says Joel is genuinely just a dummy. I'm not even offended because it would be like mad at a toddler. Oh, that's a fair point. Although I think Joel came around. I think one of the hard things is when you're indoctrinated with something, like it's hard to let it go without coping. Like Calvin, how long it didn't sound like you were like really ever deep in it, like you
Mhm.
were, but like, how long did it take you to wrestle with some of the ideas, or when you saw the nonsense, did you just immediately be like, "Oh yeah, this is nonsense, I'm out"?
Yeah, so I mean, the first time that I ever remember actually starting to question stuff was probably like 14 or 15 years old is when I started kind of having a couple questions. And that kind of escalated when I got a girlfriend in high school who was extremely religious and she invited me to church all the time. I never once went with her, but she always told me some crazy stuff they would always talk about in church where I would like we would argue about it. Needless to say that relationship didn't work out very long, but yeah, I mean, I wrestled with it from I don't know for kind of a couple of years, maybe two and a half. When I was about like 21 is when I picked up the Bible for the first time, and I spent about a year or so reading it and annotating it. Making this Bible and everything, and yeah, so about a year and a half, 2 years, I was like seriously wrestling around with it.
Okay. I mean, it's interesting. I'm always curious to know like who was as stubborn as I was. Like I took years to like really let go of the stuff. So like I kind of feel when we get these young apologists in here, I kind of feel the same thing they're going through. Like, yeah, I get it. You're fighting it. You're fighting it with everything you got, but
Right.
you're gonna lose, buddy. Just let it go.
Exactly.
Oh well, say Slug Racer, good to see you. It says, why do so many Christians have such a poor understanding of atheism? How is it that they don't know the difference between atheists and agnostics? That's actually a good point. When you're doing the street atheism, and doing all your other atheisms, like, do you find that like a lot of people, one, don't really know always what atheism means, and two, like mischaracterize your position like right from the jump?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so I used to do volunteer work for Michigan Atheists and the Secular Alliance of Michigan, who they initially kind of helped me get my first sign and kind of helped me get some of the supplies to get out there and start doing it. So thanks to Michigan Atheists for helping me out. Um, but yeah, I mean, I actually made pamphlets that said like what is atheism, and it talked about the misconceptions of atheism, what it is, what it isn't, what it claims or doesn't claim, and like the dictionary definition from a couple different sources of what atheism is. And I would pass those out to people like just on the they'd be like, oh, well, what do you believe? Boom, give them a pamphlet. Because people don't like people think that like atheism is believing that there is no god, or believing in Satan, or or that it's some sort of positive
Wait,
claim.
you don't worship Satan?
N- uh
I won't tell him.
maybe a little bit. um no. No, but it's like people like Satan is part of your fairy tale, right? Like that's not part of me. If I believed in Satan, I would have to believe in the other guy too. Um,
Right.
so yeah. I mean, it's like a common almost every time I'm live streaming or doing Ask an Atheist or anything like that, it is 100% guaranteed I'm gonna have to explain what atheism is.
Right, right. Well, friends, let me grab two super chats and we're going to get our next guest in here. I'm sorry there's going to be some audible groans because he's a repeat guest, but I think he's been good faith. Mr. Hario says, Justin, been a big fan of the early TikTok days. You and Mike Brigandy were my fave. I still watch Mike. I love him. He was actually on AXP with me not long ago. Question for Cal. Gun to the head, Randy Rhodes or EVH?
Oh, Randy Rhodes all day. Randy
Okay.
Rhodes, like heck yeah, Randy Rhodes. Like RAP man, he was amazing guitarist. Amazing. Like when I started picking up the electric guitar, he was like a big inspiration. I loved Ozzy when I first started playing guitar. So yeah, a lot of Randy Rhodes at the beginning, that going into, kind of Eddie Van Halen and, Zach Wild and stuff like that. But I could never shred like them. I never can do that. I don't claim to be no professional guitar shredder. I'm a campfire uh, country song guy. But oh, and thanks for the hand tattoo compliment. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Les Scott, thank you for the $99 super chat. Thank you for your donation, my friend. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel a lot. It's a huge, huge help to the channel. get a 100 W's for Lee. Actually, I probably said that wrong. It's Lee Scott, not Les Scott. Lee, thank you. I really appreciate that. And let's get Truth Intellis in here, and we'll keep the conversations rolling. Welcome back, Truth.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Hello,
So,
Justin.
Truth,
How are
I
you?
won't give you the same introductory questions because we all know who you are. What's on your mind tonight? I assume you disagree with the prompt a little bit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Sure. Which part do you want to talk about first?
How Jesus did return to that generation of people that he said he would return to in 70 AD.
Yeah, the same thing we talked about like twice already.
We didn't really ever kind of talk about it. We didn't go into the minutia.
Feel like we did, but might as well get into it. Which prophecy do you think he actually fulfilled? Is it Matthew 16 and Matthew 24, or what?
I mean, he fulfilled every single jot and tittle of the judgment of the Old Testament, the
Is
resurrection,
that so?
his
Okay.
return. hmm
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so we can talk about like all the discourse if you'd like.
I mean, that's probably the most normal place to start, which is, I think, pretty simple. And we'll start the same place we talked about last time that you brought up. It says, immediately after suffering of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. He will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call. They will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other, so on and so forth. And I don't need to read the rest of it because you already know the rest of it. So, which part of this did he actually accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, all of it. We could take it line by line if you'd like.
Sure. We'll start with the sign of the Son of Man appearing in heaven and all the tribes of the earth mourning. When did that happen?
Yeah, so the word there is ge for land. It's the tribes of the land, which would be the land of Jerusalem or the land of Israel, which happened when the Roman army sieged the city, and upwards to over 1 million of them were unalived during the Roman Jewish War.
A lot of them are unalived, but unfortunately, that doesn't actually fix the problem. Why would we interpret gay as being just the localized land?
Because they had no idea that the globe was a thing back then.
Actually, that makes the problem worse, not better.
Okay.
So the author's
And how is that?
unawareness, the author's unawareness of how large or what shape the Earth is irrelevant to whether or not he's referring to all of it.
Well, like in any kind of, application, the ge would be like a distinct land. Like lands had borders even back then. They had, maps and kingdoms, and they knew. And Israel was promised land to Abraham that they got in Joshua. That's the ge.
Sure. So why is it that he's appealing to all of the tribes?
Because there were still those of the diaspora that would come into Jerusalem to celebrate the final three feast days, and that's when the siege of Jerusalem began during the inauguration of the final three feast days, when the maximum amount of Jews would have been in the city to celebrate from all over the Roman Empire and
Yeah.
Gentile proselytes as well.
In Matthew 6, when he's doing the Lord's Prayer, and he says, "Let it be done on earth as it is in heaven." Why don't we just translate that land? Let it be done in like Jerusalem as it is in heaven.
Yeah, exactly. On the land as is done in heaven. And there's an argument to be made that's covenantal language as well. It's talking about taking the covenant people that would worship in the heaven, that's the inner sanctum of the temple, and bringing it out to the earth, the Gentile nations, the land.
Yeah, but I'm asking, why would he possibly say that? Like, why? Give me a case, right, for why all of the PhD holding Greek scholars who did this passage did earth instead of land. I want to know why your argument is somehow better, other than it fits your already preconceived eschatological notions.
Sure. Well, so I think that we could agree that the word earth in its current state for us would be like it's pretty anachronistic to apply that to a first century or second century if you want to go with that dating text. The word earth never meant the globe until like the 1600s. So when they were writing the original text, the word geb would never have meant like
Wait, did I say
anything beyond the
globe?
scope of a certain proximity.
Like, who said globe?
Well, but that's what you're insinuating,
No, I'm
right?
insinuating that the text is entailing everybody who is on the earth from one end of heaven to the other, which would be all of the earth. That's what it says.
But the authors did not know anything outside of their immediate context. They didn't know about Asia. They didn't
But
know about North America, South America, Australia, New Zealand, Russia.
yeah, I know. But that's why this book
Right.
is
So yeah,
nonsense,
that's
because they have no awareness and they make claims about things they don't know. Like the Bible says the earth is flat, it's not. The Bible seems to suggest that there's a tree in Daniel chapter 4, there's a tree that's tall enough that you can see every spot on the earth from the top of the tree. Listen, just because these people don't know what shape the earth is doesn't mean that we get to then go in and change the meaning of the words. You just have to accept that they don't understand how big or what shape the earth is. That's all.
Well, I would argue that like the Bible never makes the claim of the earth being flat, and the firmament being talked about in Genesis is literally just a dividing part, and that's covenant creation.
Oh
It's
no,
not
that's
literal
not
creation in Genesis
that's
1
not
or 2.
accurate at
You know, one
all.
of the reasons I started reading the Bible was because I believed in conspiracy theories, right? And you know what conspiracy theory made me start looking at the Bible for the first time? It was the flat Earth
Flat
conspiracy
Earth?
theory, because I was talking to so many flat earthers that said that the
Mhm.
Bible says the Earth is flat, and that's why they believed it. That I had to open the Bible, and guess what? It says it's flat.
Right. I disagree. I'm not a flat earther, and I don't think the Bible claims it's flat. I don't think the Bible makes scientific claims to that degree.
Oh, yes, it does.
I mean, yeah, that's like your interpretation or understanding, but I would say we differ on
It
that
just says that.
understanding. Where in the Bible does it say, by the way, the entire globe is flat?
Well,
It didn't
Daniel
say
chapter
globe.
4.
We know the
What
truth.
about Daniel
I know
chapter
you've
4?
read Daniel. Come on.
Of course. I know. Actually, you would appreciate the sit down I had with Mike Sullivan, where I went through Daniel chapter 11, and I actually tore apart your argument that's about Poltemy and this and that and the other. We're using historical,
I
actual
mean,
evidence, but that's fine.
you
We can talk
think
about
you
that a different day.
did, which is why you can only do it when I'm not
Well,
around.
well, no, I told you I had to go research it, and I did go research it. I went on Mike Sullivan's channel. It's on YouTube. You could watch it,
Well,
and if
I
you
don't
don't
know
like
who
it, you could always
I don't know
respond.
who Mike Sullivan is, and I would never ever do a video
Okay.
to bring you more traffic ever.
I don't need traffic. I'm not saying you have to plug me or anything
If
like
I'm
that. You
going
don't put
to
my name.
if I'm going to
Okay.
respond to an apologist on YouTube, it's going to be somebody with a following.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. But I'm
So
just saying. Anyway, so
in
yeah.
Daniel, in Daniel, do you know the verse about the tree?
You can expand on that, sure.
Okay. Do you believe that there's a tree, right, that is so big if it gets close to the clouds that you could from the top of the tree it's visible to see all of the earth, the whole ends of the earth?
Not literally, no. That'd be crazy to think that.
Yeah, of course, but that's what it says in Daniel 4:11. It says the tree grew great and strong, its top reached to heaven, and it was visible to the ends of the whole earth.
Yeah, right. That's because in the Hebraic language, apocalyptic language that's being used here, prophetic language, trees mean kingdoms. Just like Assyria was the greatest tree.
It's always
the
words
cedar
don't
of
mean
Lebanon.
words.
Every time.
Okay.
The full preterists are like your whole identity is words have literally no meanings.
Okay, in Ezekiel, does Ezekiel the prophet say that Assyria was a larger tree than all the cedars of Lebanon and greater than all the trees in Eden?
Yeah, see, the problem that you're going to have is you can't just say, well, listen, somebody used a metaphor here, so now we get to apply the metaphor everywhere. That's not how literature works. So these books they're not written by a single author. You can't just say, hey, Ezekiel said a thing over here, so now every time a tree comes up, it's a metaphor.
Okay, Right, but the thing is, like, it's a culture, right? So, like, for example, in the Mexican culture, they have like certain terminology that they would use that maybe to an outsider would be like, okay, I don't know what that is, but to any Mexican person, they would know exactly what they're talking about. That's what Hebraic apocalyptic language is.
Listen, we've already covered this. You don't actually know Hebrew. Like, I grant that
Okay.
you've learned a couple words and like you've figured out how to use a lexicon, but just stop pretending like you know anything about Hebrew language or culture.
Okay, well, I'm not pretending about anything, okay? What I'm saying is if we have evidence that the Bible uses trees as metaphors for nations multiple times, just like it uses waves of the ocean as metaphors for armies coming against cities multiple times, why do you get to be the standard for when they meant it and when they didn't?
I actually
Because
don't.
that's not the
Like,
metaphor being used.
So to
but it
be
is. That's
clear,
literally the context of the
the
tree,
way
is that it's about the
the way
kingdom. Nope.
metaphor works is they're giving you two different realities that map onto each other, and both of them only make sense if the analogy is true on both ends, right? So if I said Calvin has got a broom on his face, yes, it's a metaphor for mustaches. He doesn't have a broom on his face. But if Calvin didn't fucking exist, then nothing works, right? So there has to be truth on both
Uh-huh.
ends of the metaphor. The metaphor first needs to be
Right.
clearly establishing what they're trying to map onto, and the thing that they're mapping onto has to make sense as well. And if it happened to be that
Yeah.
mustaches didn't exist, then me saying that Calvin has a broom on his face would be useless because mustaches don't exist. So in this passage in Daniel
Mm-hmm.
4, whether it's a metaphor or not, it's irrelevant. The problem is it says that there is a tree and it's using the earth and a physical tree as your whatever, your base, your starting point. It says that everybody
Literary
on the earth
device.
would be able to see the tree, which obviously doesn't work unless you believe that the earth is flat. And the fact that the author thought this was workable and the audience thought this was workable tells me that they all believe the same thing, that the earth was flat, and you can see it if you go to the top of the tree or you're looking from down here to the top of the tree.
Okay, so in a localized area, right, one would argue that you have a line of sight. And yeah, you can maybe gauge the curvature of the earth if you have like a telescope and you can see a ship kind of coming over the horizon. That's fine, but that's not what Daniel's claiming. Daniel's not making a scientific claim here. He's talking about the kingdoms that would precede the kingdom of God that would be set up in 70 AD when the temple fell. So there's no
Yeah, but that
like
misses the
trying to
point.
convolute it here.
That misses the point. The analogy is useless unless you assume that the earth is flat.
The analogy isn't useless because it's not
Mhm.
trying to make a scientific claim of the earth being flat. It's making the claim of this tree that represents a kingdom being so great that everyone in a localized area, the Eretz, would be able to look up and see it. That's just using
Well,
hyperbolic
it
language. That's
didn't.
like saying I'm running like a bat out of hell. Yeah,
Well,
it
again,
doesn't work
it
if there's
didn't
no
it
such
didn't
thing as
say anything
bats or
about a
hell.
localized area. Again, so your whole shtick, the thing that you have to do as a preterist is every time the Bible mentions the whole earth, you have to say, nope, it's actually just a localized area, right? The amount of lies that you have to tell yourself to me is baffling. I don't know how you sleep at night.
You, because you're imposing an anachronism on the text that
No, I'm
doesn't
not.
necessarily exist.
No,
You're
I'm not.
saying that when they say Earth, they're thinking of the entire thing that would be known as the
Yeah.
inhabited
It
world
says
and
the
include
ends
everybody.
the ends of the whole earth.
Right.
So
Okay.
if you
But
knew
Earth.
anything about Hebrew
All right.
literature and Hebrew culture, you would know that
I
they
do.
had you don't, that they had an understanding that there was stuff beyond their land and that there was an end to it.
I understand. That's why the word Eretz is important because when we think of Earth, like the way they use it in this text is talking about like the element, like the soil. So you can't
No.
just go on to say, well, that's talking about all soil everywhere. They had geopolitical boundaries that they knew about. So
That
all the land is a reference to the glory of the nation of the kingdom that would be brought forth. I
certainly
mean,
not. It's just
you
referring
can
to
sit
something
here,
being visible from the
okay,
whole ends of the earth.
but you're bringing your own preconceived notion into the argument now.
No,
You're
I'm
saying
not. I'm
nope, it's
saying
not
that
possible that
the
okay.
plain I'm saying just saying the plain reading of the text stands. Unless you can give me a reason why the plain reading of the text wouldn't stand, I have no reason to accept it.
Well, yeah, it's used all the time in the Old Testament. I mean, if you want to look at the Old Testament for eretz, it's used all the time for a localized area,
I'm not talking
like
about
in Isaiah
eretz.
13.
Eretz
you're
is in a
imposing.
phrase. Do you know how phrases work?
Yes, I know how phrases work.
Sure, yeah. When it talks about the ends of the whole eretz, why would we interpret that as being a localized phenomenon?
Because in Jewish mindset, when they're talking about the subject being this great kingdom, there is nothing else in context except for the known land to the Israelites.
No, that's wrong. The Israelites knew that there were other lands. They went and they
I
literally talked
agree.
about them.
I know, it's in Genesis 10. They talk
So
about
this is
all
just
the way from Spain
this is
to
just cope.
Ethiopia. Okay. Well, again, that's a claim because you're bringing a preconceived notion or presupposition into it
No.
that they're saying the Earth is flat, which just isn't in the text. Nowhere does it say
You're
in
the
Daniel
one
chapter
reading
4,
into the
by the way, the Earth is
text.
flat.
We're just reading the book.
No.
Yeah, like we're
Right,
literally just
I
reading the book,
understand
and
that, but I'm
and now you're
hermeneuting
trying
it.
to give us the case for why the book doesn't mean what it says.
Yeah, but it's like if you were to, I guess, pick up like Harry Potter and start at the 4th book and then be like, okay, well, I have all the context I need. I'm
Wait, is this
doing
guy accusing me of
exegesis. I'm
not reading the
showing
book?
you.
Crazy
This
that at
guy
this
accusing
point
Well,
you're
you of
going to
not
accuse
reading
me of
Justin,
that.
I know that you've read the book, but what you're doing is you're selectively bringing in a preconceived notion into
No,
Daniel. When
nope.
I just
No,
hermeneuted
you
for
are.
you that trees are representative of kingdoms, and it's not talking about a literal tree that you're going to crawl up and see the whole flat
Sometimes.
Earth. Like that's absolutely absurd.
That's not
In those
absurd because it
particular
says it in the New
instances,
Testament
yeah.
too. What's you going to say, Calvin?
I think you've
So
got
in those
copium.
particular instances, yeah, the trees were used to symbolize kingdoms, but like, where are you? Just because it was used that way beforehand, how are you reading that into Daniel chapter 4?
Because
Just
the
because it happened.
context is talking because the context itself is talking about nations, power, kingdom. So if all those constituent elements are there, why would we just say, you know what, we're going to chuck out all the other previous uses of a tree representing a kingdom, and this actually is talking about the flat Earth? I told
Because
you this is a culture of people.
because the chapter tells you that it's other nations throughout the earth. Like literally verse
Okay,
1. The Mr. Context guy forgot to read it.
I know. No, I understand that, but it's again a localized area. It's not talking about literally North America, South
It said
America,
all
Asia,
peoples.
and
It says all peoples, nations, and languages.
yes, that is a localized thing. They did not know
All
that Native Americans. Unless that's
all
your claim,
nations,
if
all
your claim that they
languages, and all people just means just that localized area. That's what that means.
It's the only way it can
This is
work.
wild.
So wait, you're claiming that they knew that Native Americans like.
And why is that, Mr. Reed?
Because it's devastating to my case.
So you're claiming that they knew that the Aztecs existed, that the Inuits, the Aborigines. You're claiming that they knew they existed, so that would actually give more
No, I'm
validity
not claiming that
to
at all.
the like omnipotence
What I'm
of the
saying
Bible.
is that they not only did they not know that they existed, their understanding of what all the earth was just wrong. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
These people didn't
I'm
know
agreeing with
shit
you
about
because
the
you're
natural
imposing
world, which is why
anachronisms.
the book just describes it wrong every single way. Like Job 37 says that the sky is hard like a cast metal mirror. No, the fuck it's not.
Right, yeah, we can all agree it's not because it's using again metaphorical language. Like it's like if it's almost like you would read
Metaphor for
Shakespeare and be like,
what?
"Man, this guy was a bullshitter."
Metaphors for what?
I don't know. We would have to look exactly at what.
Well, listen, you
the
can't
whole
just
chapter of
claim
Job
that it's a
describes.
metaphor because you don't like it. What about the sky being like a molten metal mirror is a metaphor?
Well, I'd have to teacup to go look at Job 34.
I can pull it up.
I don't know if
It's
you
in
want
37.
37. Can you pull up the interlinear, please?
Sure. Not going to help you.
Thank you. I'm sure.
Never does.
I know.
It's going to be Job 37:18.
Well, could you go like a couple verses before? Could we just try to get some context surrounding?
Again, won't help you, but sure.
Thank you.
All right, almost there. 37:18. There we go. So this is when the questioning is happening. It says, have you spread out the skies strong as a cast metal mirror?
Mm-hmm.
And you should know, since you know Hebrew, that hazak is referring to something that's firm, something that's like actual, like typically solid or even rigid, or something that's become hardened or strong. He's referring to the sky as being hard or strong, like a mirror made of cast metal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right. So there's a couple things that go into that. Number one, do mirrors that would be cast metal have curvature back in those
Sometimes,
days?
but not typically.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I would say, yeah, that's how they worked, right? They functioned, they had curvature to them. So it's saying basically that, yes, because of the nature of how the sky is perceived arcing across the horizon, yes, it is bringing imagery of the strength of the creation of Yahweh, because not to
Strength
say
of
that
the
they actually
creation.
believed.
What are you talking
Yes,
about?
that's what
He
he
says,
says.
have you
Have you
spread
spread
out the
out with him the sky
skies
as strong as a cat? Yes.
strong as a cast metal mirror?
Yes. And not to say that they actually
What's
believed
it
that it
what's
was a
it mean to
giant
be
mirror.
what does it mean to be strong as the question is strength, right? But what's it mean to be as strong as a cast metal mirror?
Well, again, it's talking about the stretching of the skies. And if you're looking at it from like a perspective of, okay, how could this be made? How could a god, a creator, make all these things? They're just using a term that would convey something that is made of like a
Yeah,
strong material that
made
holds up.
rigid. Yeah, you got it. Made hard like a dome.
No, that's
Yeah,
like imposing that again.
that's what the firmament means. It's a dome. Brachiia is a hammered out surface.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I would argue. I think in Genesis, when it's using firmament, it's using like it's like a dividing tool. So
The
it's a
firmament,
means of dividing something out.
it sure is, and it's solid. That's why it can hold up the waters. That's what a rakia is. It's a solid dome.
Well, no, that's
Yeah.
again, Genesis chapter 1 is
Yes.
not talking about literal creation at all. It's talking about covenant creation, the separation
I
of the
forgot about
chaos
this bad
into order.
talking about. You're right. God never created anything. It's always about covenants. Sure. Whatever.
I never said God didn't create anything, but that's not the context of Genesis
There's
chapter
no
1 and
creation
2.
account in Genesis, just so you know. God, that's not how God created anything. It's a metaphor for covenants, y'all. God creating the land animals, covenant.
That's
You got it.
conspiracy theory if I've ever heard one.
The
Yes.
4 rivers, that's covenant.
Okay. Well, I mean that's like geographical boundaries that were put out from the
No,
inner
it's
sanctum or
covenant. It's
Eden.
covenant.
I mean,
You just told me it's
definitely
covenant. It's not about
typological, pointing
creation.
towards the living
Oh,
waters.
now it's typological, right?
Well, all of it's typological, correct? It's all pointing towards the new covenant in Christ Jesus that got initiated in
It's
70
not.
AD when he returned. So Christianity didn't fail. Jesus.
This is
didn't.
Does
your.
Bro know
This
that
is your.
he's a conspiracy theorist? Or...
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely your brain on preterism, y'all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Jesus said he's going to return to that generation of people in the clouds. That's like
didn't.
Isaiah 19. It's just talking about an army coming in judgment against Israel.
No, it's not at all. We already went over this. I don't know why you keep repeating the same bad talking points like it's going to work better the second time.
Can you read Isaiah 19, verse 1?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Also, to be sure, the first time we talked about the Babylonian slaves, you were fucking wrong, by the way. I didn't call you on it, and I should have.
What do you
But
mean?
let's grab when you said that the Israelites actually did own Babylonian slaves when they came back from exile. That's actually not in the text.
Oh, in 14? Yeah, it's talked about in Ezra and in Nehemiah.
Nope, no, it's not.
Okay.
They're not Babylonian slaves.
We could talk about that too, because if the Persians overthrew Babylon and the Israelites came back with people that were slaves, they sure weren't
Mhm.
Persians.
I know they were probably
Okay.
Israelites.
Yeah, no, the Israelites aren't enslaving other Israelites, my
Did
friend.
the
They would have
Israelites
been
did the Israelites overthrow the Persians?
No, the Persians overthrew the Babylonians, and then the
Mhm.
Persians let Israel back into the land out of Exodus, and they took with them Babylonian slaves.
Except it
That's what
doesn't say
Nehemiah
Babylonian
and Ezra
slaves.
said.
That's not in the
Okay.
text.
Yeah, but if it was Israelite slaves,
Find
they
me
would have
that
been listed.
verse. They are listed.
No, they're literally completely separate from the genealogy and the bloodlines
listed
that
twice.
are given.
They're literally listed twice.
I understand, but they are not listed as Israelites. They would have been listed under bloodlines or houses that they belong to, or tribes, I should say, that they belong to.
No.
Yeah, okay, right, because words don't mean words, Justin?
No, because we could just read the list and there's Israelite names in them. Do you not know that Babylonians and Israelites had different names?
I mean, that's of course, like in their own tongue or their own language, it would have been different. But we see all the time that there's transliterated names, right? Remember we talked about what names mean in the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, when you thought names and titles were the same thing, I remember that. Ezra 2 and Nehemiah
according
7.
To the Bible narrative.
So these are the people of the province who came from those captive exiles whom King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon who carried captive to Babylon. They returned to Jerusalem. It says they returned to Jerusalem and Judah, all to their towns. They came with Zerubbabel, Joshua, Nehemiah, Sariah, Reliah, Mordecai, Balshin, Mizpar, Bigvia, Rehum. So no slaves yet. And then it says these are the descendants. Oh, fuck. They're descendants. Where does it say anything about Babylonian slaves?
Well, it's in, I guess Nehemiah is what is Nehemiah 7? It's because it's Ezra 2, 60 something.
It's in Ezra 2,
that's
and
where it talks.
And it also shows up in Nehemiah.
Something. Yeah, it literally says that there were like dancer girls and slave men that they brought with them.
Yeah,
they're not listed in any of the genealogy.
Does it say that they're Babylonian?
It doesn't say they're Israelite.
But that's my point. The Israelites returned to their lands, and it says the whole assembly together as 42,360, besides their male and female slaves, of whom were 7,337, and they had 245 singers, male and female. So you don't know anything about the general makeup of these slaves. You're just assuming that they're Babylonians because you want Isaiah 14 prophecy to be fulfilled.
Israelites.
No, I'm assuming they're Israelites. I'm assuming they're Israelites because the Israelites typically did own slaves, and we have no reason to believe that the Israelites who were enslaved, that when they became free, they just magically got to own Babylonian slaves.
Well, that's what it says. That's what the text says. That when
it
Cyrus
doesn't say that.
Let them free, he gave them gold and people. Oh, okay.
He gave them slaves.
So, it says that he gave to them gold and the people.
Where?
It's in. It's got to be in Ezra and in Nehemiah. I think Nehemiah recounts it as well. But can we go to Isaiah 19, verse 1? Can you just read that so we can get the grounding for coming on the clouds of judgment being an army coming against a nation?
No, because as we've already did last time we were here, just because a word is used some way in another book doesn't mean it always means the same thing. This is the problem you keep having. This is like the fatal flaw of all preterists, is you're saying, look, there's a phrase over here, it must always mean the same thing forever in the rest of the book. That's not how it works. So I'm already going to grant you that there are visions like of armies on the clouds that come with God's judgment. That doesn't mean that it means the exact same thing every time. And we already agree that in Matthew 24, there is judgment coming, and it's not just for Jerusalem.
Well, you got to prove that because the text is literally, he says, those who are in Judea flee. That's like as localized as you can get.
Actually, it's not just localized as you can. That's the abomination of desolation.
Yeah, which is armies coming to destroy the city. That's the desolations. Yeah. That's Daniel chapter 9.
Yeah, you got it. And what happens after that? You keep confusing the prior events of the discourse to mean that all the rest of the discourse will never include the rest of the earth. We agree that in the discourse, the temple is going to get destroyed. We agree that there's going to be an abomination of desolation, although that didn't happen in 70 AD. That happened under the Bar Kokhba revolt, a whole different revolt. We agree that those things were predicted, although I think it was written after the fact. The problem that you have is it also says that Jesus is going to come back, all the tribes of the earth under one end of heaven to the other. They're going to mourn, and the elect are going to be collected. And if you read the entire discourse, which I assume you have, he goes on to tell you what this is going to look like. Matthew 25:31. He like, I don't know if you know this. You have to know this, though. You know the Olivet Discourse extends all the way through chapter 25, right?
Yeah, chapter 23, 24, and 25 is a giant chiasm. So yeah, the Son of Man comes on the glory in his throne.
Yeah, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, that's what he said in Matthew 24. He says he's coming with the angels in the glory of his Father on the clouds. And then he tells you when that happens, says when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. This is what happens when Jesus comes on the clouds. He doesn't come and piss all over Jerusalem.
No, actually, that's the resurrection, but the time of the resurrection is at the same time of the judgment of the destruction of the temple. Paul says that in 1 Corinthians 15.
So
yes,
the
1 Corinthians 15.
The resurrection was supposed to happen when he came back. There wasn't this idea that you're going to come back and then like destroy Jerusalem and then come back thousands of years later. And also, if you're a full preterist, that means this already came true.
I know, that's what I'm telling you. The resurrection of the unliving.
And actually brings up a good point. You are a full preterist, which means you have to think that this is true. Because when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, when he sits on the throne of his glory, all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people from... Did any of that shit happen?
Yeah, because this is the resurrection, so it's not talking about the living people. All the nations talking about those that were in the...
Did you hear about this, Calvin?
Waiting judgment.
I never heard of all the nations coming together like that.
I guess all of like the news people in the world forgot to report this.
I guess so.
Yeah, and again, this is at the time of the final trumpet. That's 1 Corinthians 15, and Revelation 11 says when the city where the Lord was crucified would fall, that would be when the final trumpet would sound, and to give to the dead their reward. Well, you can't reward the dead unless they're resurrected.
Wait, Justin. Do you think all the dead were resurrected? This is going to get worse and worse.
Absolutely.
The more we push on to full preterism, the worse it's going to get, because in 1 Thessalonians, Paul talks about what's going to happen when the trump is blown. And he says, we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about those who have died, so that you may not grieve as others who do not have hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so through Jesus, God will bring with him all those who have died. When did that happen?
That's 70 AD. That's the resurrection of the dead.
He brought all the dead people with him in 70 AD? Name fucking one of them.
Yes.
Name a single dead person that Jesus brought with him in 70 AD.
All the nations. That's what Matthew 25
all
is
the
talking
nations.
About.
Name one. Name one dead person Jesus brought back with him.
I don't know him by name. It was 2,000 years ago, Justin.
Name you. There's not one. There's not a single dead person that came with Jesus in 70 AD. It's not even in the reports.
Well, not physically. Of course,
not
guy
physically. That'd be legitimate zombies.
Now it's metaphorical dead people, obviously. It's obviously metaphorical.
It's a spiritual resurrection.
For we declared... And now it's a spiritual resurrection. All right, well. I think we had enough fun for the day, Truth, all right?
All right, Justin. Well, maybe...
Yeah, a spiritual resurrection. Remember... Paul said in 1 Corinthians 15, if Christ has not been raised from the dead, then we are to be pitied amongst men. It's not a fucking spiritual resurrection. That's preposterous. That's why 2 Thessalonians literally addresses this. 2 Thessalonians says, do not... Fuck it. You know, I should have read it while he was still up here. I'll never understand how you can be this obtuse and cherry pick so many passages. But 2 Thessalonians is pretty clear. It says, do not say... that Jesus has come back, basically. Hold on.
Man, he's just saying some crazy stuff. Honestly, my guy was actually arguing for like zombie apocalypse. I mean, you would think that a couple people would write down that grandma's back or something. I mean,
Yeah. Anyways, it's wild. Nevertheless, all right, friends. Sorry we had to put you through that. We didn't have a guest in the queue. We got a guest in the queue now, so we're gonna grab Uknehash. I'm sorry about that name. I'm not going to pronounce that name correctly, but I'll do my best. David, thank you for the super chat. It says, so the story about the apostle named Peter had a talking dog and a talking baby. Were they named Stewie and Brian? That sounds like the Family Guy. Actually, that's got to be it. And Black Blood Cell, thank you for the super chat. It says, amazing that Christians will argue that God isn't directly responsible for David's wives being SA'd. By that same logic, David isn't responsible for killing Uriah because he wasn't the one who directly killed him. Fair point.
fair point.
Yeah, David didn't kill him. He allowed him to be killed.
There you go.
So wait a minute. If David, right, gets to clean his hands because he didn't kill Uriah, right? He just allowed Uriah to be killed. Then why is God punishing him?
Exactly.
In fact, in the book of Kings, after David's dead, it literally says that except for the situation with Uriah the Hittite, David had never turned away from any of the Lord's commands. So when it talks about the Bathsheba and Uriah situation, it literally mentions Uriah and not Bathsheba as being the grave sin.
That's
which
funny.
means I don't know why we're punishing David for the Uriah situation. He just allowed it to happen.
Very fair point.
That's pretty crazy. Well, our guest that I couldn't pronounce the name of bailed. I have no idea what happened there. Now's a great time to request up, friends. I don't know how late we can stream tonight. I've got another stream planned for tomorrow, and then Wednesday I won't be streaming at all because I'm getting the butt scope. I got a colonoscopy scheduled, and then be a whole thing. I'm old, Calvin. I'm like a million years old.
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do, man. Get your butts checked.
Friends, they used to wait till you're like 45. Now it's like 40, and now it's like 35. Remember the guy from the Wakanda movie? He died of colon cancer at like 30 something, right?
Yeah, man, that was crazy.
Yeah, all I'm
Chadwick
saying.
Boseman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All I'm saying is you want to get checked early and often. Same thing, like if you've got anything uncomfortable happening with mammaries, get the smush, have them checked out. Make sure you don't have breast cancer, y'all, because early prevention is always the key. I'm very, very keen on early prevention because some of you all know that cancer is what got my pops. And like, listen, you cannot catch that shit late. I've known quite a few people who caught it early and they were good. So always take care of your health. I realize in America it costs $1 million to go see a doctor, but it's way more expensive if you catch it late. I can promise you that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, I don't have we don't have any guests in the queue, so probably it might be one of those slow nights. Maybe what we can do is I'll read some super chats, and then if we don't get another guest by the time we finish our super chats, maybe we'll have an early end and get to bed on time tonight rather than being teenagers and being up till 2 a.m.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I've got time, to hang out till probably another half hour, 45 minutes or so, anyway. So I mean, yeah, we're good.
Should be perfect then. All right, we'll read super chats, friends, and then we'll close out. I'll be alive again tomorrow night with our friend Volsi, and we'll be double streaming to the Deconstruction Junction. Oh, sorry, TikTok froze. Give me a second to fix TikTok. It does that like every once in a while.
You're right. I'll be live tomorrow too, as well.
Yes,
I don't know
exactly.
what time, but I'll also be doing a live sometime tomorrow. I just kind of wing it whenever I'm free and feel like doing it is when I do it, and they're usually about 2 hours long, 2.5 hours. So probably usually about midday. You can probably find me live.
All right, friends, we're gonna read your super chats. We really appreciate everyone being here. And Cyber says, guest to Calvin, let me build this straw man and shadow box the fuck out of it. That's always the case. I was getting like internally angry because every time you said something, he would mischaracterize it. I'm just like, would you just address what he said?
How it works, man.
Base Lord of 75 says, Joel, your lack of evidence is not our problem. And that is the truth. Now, listen, I get that some of these people are going to come up on here and they're not going to know all their sources, but at least kind of know the name of the sources and where we can find it, and I can pull it up for you. But if your sources, well, go, go check it out. Like, go check
Trust
what
me,
out?
bro.
Exactly. Trust me, bro. And somebody in the comments are asking where they can find your content. Well, listen, inside of the title of the YouTube video, I put his @ so the @ Unquestionable Calvin. Also, if you're on TikTok, just go look for Unquestionable Calvin, and you'll also find him on Facebook as well and Instagram. So,
Yep.
Godwin says, I meant, how did they believe so easily if untrue? Oh, I see what you're saying. How were they so easily moved to believe if the thing is untrue? Well, my opinion, I have actually have been of the opinion for a long time of the imposter theory. So, in the ancient world, we have a number of like resurrections or coming back from the dead accounts that were actually because of imposters. So the Nero is one of them. There is another one where like it's Almoxis, who was a follower of Pythagoras, basically predicted his own death, faked his own death, and then 3 years later just showed up, basically. So that's not necessarily the same as an imposter.
Yeah.
But even in Matthew 13 at the begin, or Mark 13 at the beginning of the Olivet Discourse, he says, "Many will come in my name, saying, 'I am he.'" Like, oh, the Gospels they're preparing you for imposters to show up because it would have been so common. So I think an imposter showed up, convinced one or two, or maybe a couple of them, and that was all it took. The Nero imposters were abundant during this time period. There's at least 6 known Nero imposters that had to get murdered by the Roman state. So impostoring dead people, especially famous dead people, seem to be fairly common. Mr. Hario says, shout out to Ems for the absolute weekly ASMR. Always on standby for when a Muslim calls it in hot. An OG to these debates and an absolute sidekick to Jay. That's 100% right. Listen, Ems is an absolute legend. Like, he just comes, like, the minute a Muslim caller shows up, he just, like, comes out of the shadows like Batman and just, just carries them off in the dark. It's a glorious thing to witness. You've seen Ems, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar. Cool guy.
Yeah, Ems is a legend. Ted says, it's so good to be back. Rock hard for Doug. Still cancer free. Hell yeah, Ted. Woo! I love to hear it. And I hope you're doing well, friend. Listen, even when your cancer is in remission or it's been removed, always remember to do checkups. I forget what they do now. I think even if you haven't had cancer, like even if you just had like a tumor, like a benign tumor, they recommend that you go in more frequently to get things checked out because, you could be predisposed to something turning malignant. Jammer says, if you could debate any apologist, who would it be? Oh, this is a fair question. Okay. Now, when it comes to actually wanting to debate apologists, you guys know here, I love getting a good Crash Out King. They're fun for clips. But if I'm going to go and debate like on a big stage or at like a university or something, I actually wanted to debate a good apologist. I don't want to debate some clown. So I would be interested in debating a clown like Frank Turek just so I can drag him like all over the place and show how silly his arguments are. But to be fair, that'd be like playing with my food. I would much rather debate an educated apologist, like somebody like Gavin Ortland or perhaps who's the guy I'm thinking of? Trent Horn. He's really good. I would much rather debate even fucking that Justin Bass guy that was being rude to oh, my names are slipping right now. He did a debate on Christianity against Bart Ehrman, and he was kind of rude to Bart Ehrman. But even a guy like that, he's educated. I would debate him. I'd much rather do on a big stage a debate with somebody that's educated, so we can kind of demonstrate that even the most sophisticated apologists don't really have that much more than these lower level apologists. Oh, the Wes Huss. I would love to debate Wes Huss. The other thing too is a lot of these educated apologists, I think they're more honest. I think they know some of the pitfalls of their own worldview. And so they typically don't give, like they'll give a lot of the same arguments, but they're not as bad as like the way they give it is just better and more tuned than what we hear here on YouTube and TikTok. So I would prefer that. To be fair, I'd rather talk to an educated apologist if I was going to waste my time going to somebody else's platform. Mandolin B says all life has value in the New Testament. Jesus nukes Ananias. Well, so Peter
Oh man.
nuked a couple, Ananias and Sapphira, for not giving all of their property to the church. So that's a fair point. Jesus does advocate in Mark 7 and Matthew 15 for the executing of the son that curses their mother and father. So
yeah, you're right.
And Go Pibble says, thank you for your donation. Well, Pibbles, thank you for yours. And also, Slow TDI says, baby paste itize me, Captain. We almost got a baby paste tonight. I apologize for not making it happen, friends. Next time around, we'll get it. And Master Mershiter says, day one apologetics right here. Dude needs a book. It's true. Calvin, do you see this where you find like there are people that come in, you can see that they're just getting into like apologist arguments, and they're baffled when it doesn't work on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's people who come in and it's like they spent maybe like a couple hours, maybe even a day or two, maybe even a week, looking at one particular argument, like really like honing in on it. And then it's like they don't test that argument before they hop up on a stage in front of hundreds of people to give the argument, and then they end up just getting embarrassed and in front of a bunch of people, and then they start to throw the insults, and then they start to crash out, because they're embarrassed
every time. And Chris, good to see you, says no one saw Jesus resurrect, and that seems to be the case.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason why anyone could even hold a claim to that, since we don't have any firsthand accounts. Artemis Knight, good to see you, says raised in Christian music. Petra's new album rocks. Wait, Petra has a new album?
I've heard. I haven't listened to it.
Although the pun on Petra's new album rocks is amazing, by the way, but so hard to listen now. Sad how Christianity neuters artists. Honest social commentary replaced by robotic Jesus bullshit. They got one topic. It's true. There are some artists, like Christian artists, that I think branched out at some level and did some meaningful stuff. Like near the early late 2000s, like even like the Jars of Clay did some songs that did like social commentary a little bit. But typically it's more like, drugs are bad, God is great, yay. Oh, all right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Praise the Lord says, the argument from your mother is a new one to me. Oh, well. She's got a lot of them. I heard she's really big. And my boss says, if I follow Calvin, then I guess I can truly call myself a Calvinist.
There's the Calvinist joke. There it is. I knew it was going to come up somewhere.
Every time. The only type of Calvinist we like.
I guess so. There's a guy who called into my my call-in show, and I talked to him for like 2 hours. And then he was like, well, since you're a Calvinist, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean? He was like, what? Well, isn't that the whole thing? I said, no, my name is Calvin. He's like, oh my God, this whole time I thought you were a Calvinist. And I'm like, dude, you haven't been listening to me this whole fucking time then. See ya. Like we talked for like 2 hours and you think I'm a Calvinist? Really?
These people are not bright. That's why they're Christians still, Matt, I think, has a suggestion for the omni permitting, which is omni-permissive. And I think of the variants we checked out, that might be the one that I like the best, omni-permissive. And another one, omni-spineless.
Savage.
Oh, they're hitting them hard. Everett Rock says Thinker has a new song that references Doug. No fucking way. Rock Hard for Doug. Way. Thinker did? All right, I got to go check it out. I haven't checked out a new Thinker song in a couple weeks, so now you set me on the mission. I'm going to go check out Thinker's new song. El Traviosa says, come on, Justin, you know the drill. Literal truth when it confirms my bias. Metaphor if it doesn't. You know what? You got me. That's the hermeneutic you have to be a Christian. It's always a metaphor unless you like it. Then fucking literal. You know what I mean? Roy Williams, thank you for the 99-cent super thanks. And Chris, thank you for the $10 super thanks with vocabulary update. All means a few. Also, as far as I'm aware, caused still means allow. Praise Doug, a rock. No metaphor, just a fucking rock. Hands down. Absolutely the case. And Ray Gatto, thank you for the 666 beautiful kitty, says, hi, the devil here. Just a reminder that the great floods, plagues, and pandemics are God's department. I just do metal bands, which I would take all day long. A Shandari, good to see you. It says, how weak is the Christian God that this show even exists? Why didn't he make his own holy book more straightforward so no one has to interpret it the right way? Just pop down and say, hi, God. Fair. He could clear all this shit up, right?
It's really that easy. You know, if he just popped up right here, I mean, it kind of would be really embarrassing for me, right? Like, I mean, that'd sure show us.
Had some egg on my face for sure. Man, I mean, it's funny because people ask me, I'm sure you've got asked this before. Well, if God showed up like right in front of you, would you believe him? Yeah, fucking sure. Why not?
Yeah,
Like,
if he convinces me that it's him, then yeah. I mean,
like, what's
doesn't mean I'm
stopping
gonna
him?
worship him, but
Yeah,
you know,
no,
I'll
that's
believe him
another
for you.
thing. Yeah, no fucking way I'm gonna worship that guy.
Like, I don't know, maybe I'll punch him in the nuts while he's there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he's got to have them.
Spiritually, of course.
Spiritual nuts. True. It's the spiritual nuts. Hatzak says, why is God incompetent with delivering his message? Having so many supposed hidden and twisty meanings is almost like he didn't want people to understand, which is true. If you have to do what Truth and Tellus is doing, which is just 100% words never mean words, then like God is nothing but the author of confusion. Like there's no reason. And to be fair as well, got to remember a lot of these arguments for preterism, where it's like, oh, well, see the way this word was used over here. That only works if you think that the audience had those fucking words to even reference. Like when
Right.
Jesus spoke those words, you think they're like, oh, fucking, how did Isaiah 19 say this? What
Yeah,
the fuck are you talking
Like,
about?
you think everyone's just got a fucking study Bible on hand or something? Like, I mean,
It's ridiculous. But he did cook me on his own channel, apparently, which I won't be watching. Vigil
oof,
says,
he's gonna tell all of his friends.
hey, keep in mind, the reason why they have to come to our channels is because nobody fucking watches those channels. Because they're so
Yeah.
bad.
The shameless self-plug.
Vigil says, this guy only reads some of it discourse. Oh, that's a good pun or use of words for the all of it. It's not all of it, it's some of it.
Love it.
Rod, thank you for the super chat, says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory hole. That you're right, true. That's what the metaphor is.
You know, every time I hear Son of Man, every single time I can't help but think Phil Collins. You know, I
Yeah.
just go right to Phil Collins route, which makes a bunch of really good atheist music, by the way.
I know, right? I would play the song you're thinking of, but I'll get DMR'd. But
Yeah. He's got a bunch though. Him and Genesis both have probably 10 or 12 like songs that are just like straight up atheism. Pretty cool.
I really love to do do a whole religion based on words don't mean words, where we can do fun stuff like the coming of the Son of Man is a sexual reference. Like we can make an entire, the minute words don't have meanings anymore and everything's a metaphor, there's no limit to what you can't do.
Let's do it. Let's make it tax exempt and everything.
100%. Peace, Love, and Cake says, surprised you don't need weekly colonoscopies with the shit these cars peddle. Actually, tomorrow, I can guarantee that I won't be full of shit because before the colonoscopy, they make you drink this purge fluid. Tomorrow night's going to be a rough one. I got Volsey with me tomorrow night. I'm going to make him do all the talking because I'm going to be super fucking uncomfortable. And Rotor Boat, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Says, Justin, I worry about your channel. I worry that the epic lineup you have between yourself, Dalton, Cyber, I fear you're going to run out of folks dumb enough to come debate you. Keep it up. Actually, it seems like they're in abundance. And I even, even on Unapologetic, you would think, listen, you got me and you've got Dr. Blitz and Ian, and people still call in.
Absolute
What are we doing?
killer lineup.
I have no idea. It's just the hubris of the religious is crazy to me. And John says, what was your favorite contemporary Christian song? Okay. This is the last thing I'll say because that's our last super chat, and then we're gonna end. But I still listen to Relient K, and not just like 2005 Relient K, 2011. I still listen to like 1997 Relient K, like Marilyn Manson Ate My Girlfriend Relient K. I still like them. I don't know. What about you, Calvin?
So I just looked it up because I couldn't remember what the band name was. It's God Is on the Move by I think it's Seventh Time Down. It's a 2015 song, but it's a little bit like of a newer song. But my wife actually, like, my wife was born and raised atheist. She never was, into the religion stuff, and she found herself listening to like all these Christian songs, and she had no idea that they were like, because she didn't like register. She just was hearing a jam and just was jamming out, not realizing that like these are a bunch of like Christian artists and stuff making the jams. And she found the song "God Is on the Move." Yeah, it's Seventh Time Down, and it's a jam. It's a jam. Go. I hate to say go listen to it, but that's my shit.
I'll give it a listen. All right. Well, friends, thank you so much for being here. Calvin, thank you so much for joining me. I had a blast. I'm kind of ashamed that it took 3 years to make it happen, but
we just got to do it again.
We'll definitely do it again. Make sure you're following. I'm trying to get more people involved, so we'll see. It's kind of fun to have a duo. But I really appreciate you joining me, friends. Make sure you're following Calvin's channel. In the title of the YouTube video, I've got the @ for his YouTube channel. Make sure you're dropping a follow. And friends, we'll see you again tomorrow night.